को छोड़ के ना जाए कभी. So from now of today we have lagbhag 1 2 3 4 5 35 pages, 35 and 6 it's 41 pages of modern India question answers. So now we are going to start modern India today. So see, radical wing of the Congress party with Jawaharlal Nehru as one of the main leader founded the Independent for Indian League in opposition to. So it's Jawaharlal Nehru as the one of the main leader founded the Independence for India League in opposition. So founded the Independence for India League is the Nehru report. So Independence of India League was formed with Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose, who opposed 1928 Nehru report as they wanted complete independence. That's why Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose, who opposed Nehru report, who proposed the Nehru report as they wanted complete independence. So they opposed Nehru report. Okay, which one of the following was an immigrant communist general of M.N. Roy? So M.N. Roy was the worker. Okay, uh, Manavendra Nath Roy, founder of communist newspaper Vanguard. It was a source of candid information for the Indian people about 1917 October Revolution. So it was the Manavendra Nath Roy and founder of communist newspaper Vanguard. It was the source of candid information Indian people about the October Revolution. Now this is the place marked 1 2 3 4 were respectively the seats of power of the. So this is the powers of the Indore Holkers. Because of Indore Holkers was at 1. So Gwalior was Scindia, Indore was Holkar, Baroda was Gaikwad, and Magpur was Bhonsle. Nagpur was actually Bhonsle. So see, we can say here Holkar was first, that was in Indore. Then Scindia was second, and they was in Gwalior. So Holkar, like Indore is more north, and then Scindia in Gwalior, then Baroda in Gaikwad, and then last one will be the Nagpur and Bhonsle. Okay, last one. So which one of the following pair called correctly matched a Battle of Buxar, Battle of Wandiwash, French and East India Company? Yeah, Battle of Wandiwash was French and East India Company. So Battle of Buxar was 1964, fought between East India Company had Hector Munro against the combined army of Mir Qasim and Nawab of Bengal, Nawab of Awadh. Mir Qasim, Nawab of Bengal, Nawab of Awadh, and Hector Munro. It was the Battle of Buxar 1964. Then Battle of Wandiwash 1761 between the French and Company was a decisive battle in India during the year. And the French army was decisively Ayerkut as a force of British East India Company. So Battle of Wandiwash was between the French and East India Company. Decisive battle in India during the year of war. The French army was decisively defeated Ayerkut and forces of British East India Company. Next is Battle of Walla. So it was between the British East India Company and Sikh Army, Chilkiawala region and Punjab. Second Anglo-Sikh War. The battle was checked to immediate British ambition in India, British military prestige. Battle of Kharda is between the Nizam of Hyderabad and Maratha Confederacy on 11 March, and decisive victory of Maratha in the Kharda. What is the correct sequence? Lucknow Pact is 1915, introduction of Diarchy 1919, Rowlatt Act 19, then partition of Bengal was 1905. So first will be the 4. Exactly, there will be B or the D will be the answer. So now B, then it will be the first because Lucknow Pact after that. So it was the partition of Bengal 16 October 1905. Lucknow Pact was 29 December 1916. Rowlatt Act was 19 March 1919, and introduction of Diarchy as the Montague was 23 December. Lucknow Pact and Montague Chelmsford reform was in December 1990. Next was the word Adivasi was used for the first time to refer as tribal people by, it was the Thakkar Baba. So Amrit Vitthal Das Thakkar, popularly known as Thakkar Baba, he became member of Servant of Indian Society, founded Gopal Krishna Gokhale in 1914. Servant of India Society was very important society, which was by the Gopal Krishna Gokhale. He was an Indian social worker, visited remotest part of India for upliftment of the suppressed class. The Bara dacoity was the first major venture of the revolutionary terrorists of the freedom movement in. So Bara dacoity is in the East Bengal. Okay. So Bara dacoity took place in the Bara and East Bengal region, in which state treasury was looted. So Pauline Berahidas was the mastermind behind the conspiracy. Is a Bara dacoity. Which one of the following political parties are national political party? So Muslim League, Revolutionary Socialistic Party, All India Forward Bloc, Peasant and Worker Party. So it's saying the political party is national political party. So Muslim League was not, Revolutionary Socialistic Party not, All India Forward Bloc also, only Congress. So this all party at regional level, but however only Indian National Congress, which had mass level present almost entire nation, can be considered national party. In 1930, Mahatma Gandhi started civil disobedient movement from, so it was started from Dandi. Okay, so civil disobedient movement was Dandi March was significant in terms of breaking the SALT law and beginning of civil disobedient movement in 1913. So it was the breaking the SALT law and beginning of civil disobedient movement. Which one of the following pairs are not correctly matched? So Jamlalal Prasad and Dadabhi Naroji and Bombay Association, yes. And Satyagraha Ashram is Varda, and Lala Lajpat Rai National School at Lahore, yes. Bal Gangadhar Tilak Satyashodhak Samaj was Jyotirba Phule, so D will not be answer. So B and C is you correctly seeing, like both are yes, but Jamlalal Bajaj I can't see anything, so D will be the answer. Okay, not correctly match. So Satyashodhak Samaj is the social reform security established by Jyotirba Phule in Pune, India. As 1873, its purpose was to liberate Shudra and untouchable caste and exploitation and oppression. Hooghly was used as a base for piracy in the Bay of Bengal by, it was the Portuguese. Okay, the Hooghly became a center of piracy due to the British East India Company managed the influence of Portuguese trade in the region. So dacoity, confiscation and capture of goods were increased. The Sarabandi campaign was led by, it was Vallabhbhai Patel. So in Gujarat, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel led the Sarabandi campaign. Patel emphasized the potential hardship and the needs of complete unity and non-violence. So it was the Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel led the Saraband campaign. Patel emphasized the potential hardship and the needs of the complete unity and non-violence. So first was the match the answer following. Governor General of the Presidency for the William in Bengal, Governor General of the India, and Governor General of and the Viceroy of India, Indian Council Act 1858. Yes. Governor General of Crown Representative under Government of India Act. Yes. So see, now it's matching list 2 is there. So Charles Cornwallis and Gilbert and Mountbatten Archie pursued Wavell. So Wavell was in the like 1935. Who was there? It was Dalhousie. So C was 2. Okay, C was 2 clearly. No. It's difficult to recognize. So Governor General of India under Charter Act 1833. So it was Dalhousie. Okay, for sure. Yeah. So B was actually uh, Dalhousie 2, and Governor General Viceroy of India in Council left. It was Cornwallis. Yeah. C is Cornwallis. C is 3. So C is 4 here. So C is 4. 4 is Elliot and Minto. Okay, and Governor General of Crown Representative. D is one is Archibald and Wavell. Okay, so yeah, D is one exactly. And Governor General of Fort William in Bengal. So A is four. A is four is Gilbert John Elliot and Ernst of Minto. Next question is Governor General of Presidency of Fort William in Bengal, Lord Cornwallis. So Governor General of India was Lord Dalhousie, and Governor General of Viceroy in India, Lord Minto. Governor General of Crown Representative, Lord Wavell. Which one of the following first muted the idea of Constituent Assembly frame Constitution for India? It was Swaraj Party. Okay, so the idea of Constitution Assembly to frame a Constitution of India was muted by Swaraj Party in 1934. So next is the British sovereignty continue to exist in free India? No. The British sovereignty appointed the last Governor General of Free India. Yes. So D will be the answer. So it was the Lord Mountbatten as a last Governor General of Free India was appointed by British sovereignty. So 1947. Okay. His principal forte was social and religious reform. He relied upon legislation to do away with social ills and worked unceasingly for the eradication of child marriage, the parda, to encourage consideration of social problem on the national scale. The inauguration Indian National Social Conference, which for many years met for an annual session alongside the Indian National Congress. So social religious reforms. It was Mahadev Govind Ranade. So parda, eradication of child marriage. So here is options are like Ishwar and Vidyasagar, that is very similar to the C. Mahadev Govind Ranade. Brahmaji Malabari, it's also similar little bit. B.R. Ambedkar will never be the answer, so it will rule out the Indian National Social Conference. But here is given Indian National Social Conference also. So it was Mahadev Govind Ranade. National Social Conference was inaugurated by the Mahadev Govind Ranade. He was founder of Social Conference movement. Okay, next was who among the following leader did not in reign of theory? Dadabhai Naoroji. So Tilak was yes, Dutt was yes, Danade was yes, but Syed Ahmed Khan was not there. So Syed Ahmed Khan did not believe in reign of wealth. He was loyal to British and was opposed the Congress of self-rule and end of British Empire. So that was there, Tilak was there, and Ranade was there. B.R. Ambedkar was elected to the Constitutional Assembly from, so it was the West Bengal. B.R. Ambedkar, Bhimrao Ambedkar was elected as the Constitutional Assembly from West Bengal. So though he was the resident of Bombay Presidency, lies not elected from there and elected from West Bengal. So Bhimrao Ambedkar was elected to the Constituent Assembly from West Bengal. The Anarchical and Revolutionary Crime Act was popularly known as the Rowlatt Act. The Anarchical and Revolutionary Crime Act passed the committee under the championship of the Sydney Rowlatt, and that's why this act was popularly Rowlatt Act. It was also considered Black Act of Gandhiji because the act allowed the government machinery to take certain political cases to without juries. So Anarchical Revolutionary Crime Act passed by the committee under the chairmanship of the Sydney Rowlatt, and that's why this act was popularly not Rowlatt Act. It was also considered as Black Act for Gandhiji because allowed the government machinery to take certain political cases of tried without jury. Next is the marvel of country, the wonder of the living photographic picture in life-size reproduction by Messrs. Luminaries Brothers and Cinematography exhibition. So it was in 1896 the Luminary Brothers showcased the Watson Bombay mentioned what are the first advertisement in cinema. Who among the following was the first European initiate the policy of taking part in Indian prices with the view of acquire? So it was the duplex. So policy of taking part in Indian princes with the view of acquire. Uh, Native Indian state duplex was the first European troops to Indian state in the matter of quarrels. So French used to provide their troops for the rent. It was the duplex. So it was in quarrels in prices with the view of Next is the meeting of Indian British political leader during 1930-32 in London has often been referred to as the first, second, third round table conference. It would be incorrect to refer to them as such because the Indian National Congress did not take part in two of them. Uh, it's a meeting of Indian and British. So yeah, okay. It was an instance of conference held in three sessions and not that of three separate conference. It was three separate conference. Okay. The British Labour Party withdrawal from the conference, thereby making the proceeding of the conference partisan. Yes, Labour Party that time withdrew from that conference, and the proceeding of the conference was in partisan. Indian party other than the Indian National Congress participation in conference represented sectional interest and not the whole of India. Yes, they was just talking about the sectional interest, and there was the Indian National Congress did not take part in two of them. Okay, so it was the conference held in three sessions and not on the three separate conference. So it was not three separate, but it was held to discuss Simon Commission report and further course of action. Okay, who among the following was a prominent leader of the Congress Socialistic Party? So it was Acharya Narendra Deva. So who among the following was a prominent leader of Congress Socialistic Party? It was the Acharya Narendra Deva. So Acharya Narendra Deva, Meenu Massani and Jayaprakash Narayan were the pioneer of Congress Socialistic Party. It was formed 1934 due to the failure of civil disobedience movement. So Acharya Narendra Deva, Meenu Massani and Jayaprakash Narayan was the pioneer of Congress Socialistic Party, and it was formed in 1934 due to failure of civil disobedience movement. So Acharya Narendra Deva, Meenu Massani and Jayaprakash Narayan. Consider the following landmark in Indian education. So it was Hindu College of Calcutta, and then the Adams Report, and then the Wood's Dispatch, and then the University of Calcutta. First was the Hindu College of Calcutta, second was the Adam Report, and then Wood's Dispatch, then University of the Calcutta. So Hindu College was established in William Adams Report, then Wood Dispatch came into effect, and thereafter Calcutta University was established in 1857. So first was Hindu College, then Adams Report, and then Wood Dispatch, and then University of Calcutta. Match the following. So there is Surendranath Banerjee, M.K. Gandhi, Subhash Chandra Bose, and Lala Lajpat Rai. So Lala Lajpat Rai wrote Hind Swaraj, Subhash Chandra Bose autobiography writing, and M.K. Gandhi a nation's making, Surendranath Banerjee the Indian struggle. Okay, sorry, I was quite okay. Subhash Chandra Bose the Indian struggle, Surendranath Banerjee a nation's making, M.K. Gandhi Hind Swaraj, and Mahatma Gandhi was Hindu Swaraj. Subhash Chandra Bose the Indian struggle, Surendranath Banerjee in the nation making, Lala Lajpat Rai autobiography writings. So among the Gandhi, Hindu Swaraj takes the form of the dialogue between two characters, the reader and the editor, and the whole book is kind of disclosure between the two. Consider the following statement about Jawaharlal Nehru. He was the president of Congress Party in 1947. He presided over Constituent Assembly. He formed the first Congress ministry in United Province before India independence. So, what are the consider the following statement about the Jawaharlal Nehru? About the Jawaharlal Nehru, consider the following statement about the Jawaharlal Nehru. So, he was president of the Congress Party in 1947. He presided over the Constituent Assembly. He formed the first Congress ministry in United Province between India and independence. So, he was the president of the Congress Party in 1947. No. He presided over Constituent Assembly. No. He formed the Congress ministry in United Province before Indian independence. That is also no. So Maulana Abdul Kalam was the president, and J.B. Kriplani was the president, and Dr. Rajendra Prasad presided over the Constituent Assembly, and Govind Ballam Pant formed the first Congress ministry in United Province. So it was the Govind Vallabh Pant who formed the first Congress ministry, and Rajendra Prasad was the presided the Constituent Assembly, and Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad was the president, and then J.B. Kriplani. Which one of the not correct about the cabinet mission plan? Cabinet mission plan is Which one of the following is not correct? It was the provincial grouping, yes. Interim cabinet in India and constituent framing rights, okay. Acceptance of Pakistan, no. So the cabinet mission plan recommended an undivided India and turned down the Muslim League's demands for a separate Pakistan. So next is the Abhinav Bharat Society, Arbindo Ghosh. Anushilan is V.D. Savarkar. Gaddar Party, Lala Hardayal. And Swaraj Party, C.R. Das. Okay, next one is Swaraj Party founder is Congress Khilafat Swaraj Party, C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru. Gaddar Party, San Francisco, founded by Lala Hardayal and Sohan Sin Bakna. And Anushilan Samiti, Bengali Indian organization that existed 20th century, led by the Arbindo Ghosh and his brothers Barindra Ghosh. Abhinav Bharat Society was a society founded by Vinayak Damodar Savarkar and his brother Ganesh Damodar Savarkar. Now, 1906 formation of Muslim League. 1932 first session of National Conference at Calcutta. It was I don't know, announcement of communal award and Whitehall communal award. I think it was 1906. Okay. No, it was communal award was announcement was I think 1927. Foundation of Muslim League was 1906. Formation of All India State People Conference 1883. So it was the first session of National Congress was C. C will be the answer. So A is for first session of National Conference of at Calcutta. So first session of National Conference at Calcutta was 1883. Then B will be the 3, foundation of Muslim League, and C will be the 2. It was the formation of All India State People Conference, and D will be the 1. It was announcement of communal award from Whitehall. So first session of National Conference Calcutta 1883. Foundation of Muslim League was Dhaka. 1903 formation of All India State People Conference 1927. Announcement of communal award by Ramsay MacDonald was Whitehall. It was 1932. Consider the following statement. The non-cooperation movement led to the Congress becoming a mass movement for the first time. Growth of Hindu-Muslim unity and removal of fear of the British might from the minds of people. British government willingness to grant political concession to India, that was not there. So 4 will be not there exactly. And growth of Hindu-Muslim Congress becoming a mass movement for the first time. It's not first time exactly. So it aims to resist the British rule in the Indian through non-violent means, and the idea of ahimsa, non-violence, Gandhi's ability to rally hundreds of thousands of common citizens towards cause of Indian independence were first seen the large scale. Which of the following is important novel written during the latter half of the 19th century? It was the Durgesh Nandini. Actually, it was the latter half. So, Durgesh Nandini is the important historical novel. 19th century, Durgesh Nandini, Darshan and Anand Math were the greater historical. And Bankim Chand Chatterjee, these all are the deal with the condition and suppression. Who among the following suggests the winding Indian National Congress after Indian independence? It was Mahatma Gandhi. So Indian National Congress after Indian attainment independence. So Gandhi was asked all to top Congress leaders to partition from a new organization to serve the people. That task was to fight for freedom, liberation of India from the shackles of the British, which is achieved by later handing over power of the Indians. Match the following. Butler Committee, it was the growth of education, British, no, working of the diarchy down to Montague, Chelmsford reform. So it was Movement Committee, and relationship between the states and paramounts. Oh, it was Butler, and Jallianwala Bagh Massacre. It was Hunter Committee, and the growth of education, British India. It was Hartog Committee. Okay, so that was the committees which was made. Now come on, next question. A graduate 18 professor, associate editor Shudrak 20, secretary Sarvaj Nayak Sabha's provincial conference, secretary of National Congress, leading witness before the important Royal Commission, provincial legislature. Empiric. This is how biography is described. Like it's say Gopal Krishna Gokhale, Royal Commission, empirical legislative, and president of Indian National Congress, provincial legislature also, and a patriot whom Mahatma Gandhi himself regarded as master was Gopal Krishna Gokhale. So its last line that will be answer. Gopal Krishna Gokhale was the Kolhapur, Maharashtra, and Gandhiji himself regarded Gokhale his political master in India. Who among the following was associated with the suppression of thugs? It was Captain Sleeman. So William Henry Sleeman is the best known of his duty for suppression of thugs. Okay, and captured Saeed, Amir Ali, and many other notorious leaders. See, the Parliamentary reform is the communal election. Simon Commission was the country-wise agitation. Chora Chori withdrawal of movement, and the Dandi March communal outbreak, illegal manufacturing of the salt. So Parliament was introduced first time separate electorate for the Muslim category known as the communal electorate. Simon Commission group appointed in November by the British Conservative government to report on the working of Indian Constitution by the Government of India Act. It has no Indian member in it, therefore it was represented by the Indian resulted country-wide in agitation. So Chorachori incident occurred at the Gorakhpur district and led to death of 3 civilian and 23 policemen. Gandhi halted the non-cooperation movement result of the incident. Dandi march by Mahatma Gandhi witnessed illegal procurement of salt and afterwards civil disobedient movement. So Dandi march was Mahatma Gandhi witnessed illegal procurement of salt and afterwards civil disobedient movement. Pune Pact, which of the sign between the British government and Mahatma Gandhi in 19 provided for. So it was separate electorate for the Harijans. So it was the sign between the British government and Mahatma Gandhi in 1934 from separate electorate for the Harijans. So Pune Pact, which was signed between the British government and Mahatma Gandhi, provided for separate electorate for the Harijan. So Pune Pact was signed between the Bhimrao Ambedkar and Mahatma Gandhi, giving the separate electorate to the Dalit for election member of the state legislative assembly. Surat split was the 1907. Communal award was 1934. All party convention and Pune Swaraj was 1929. So the famous Surat split between the two fraction of Congress, moderate and extremist Congress formed. Surat session communal award was made up the British Prime Minister Ramsay MacDonald. All party convention, a series of convention which took place bringing together representative of various political parties and communities in India with the view to working out a mutually agreed formula of constitutional advances. Pune Swaraj declared Indian National Congress under the leadership of Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru and other leaders. Okay, so All India Prevention of series of conventions such took bringing together representative of various political party and communities in India with view to working out a mutually agreed formula for the constitutional advance. The famous Surat split function of Congress modernities as extremists in the Congress occurred in 1907 of Surat session. Communal award was made up by the British Prime Minister Ramsay MacDonald. So Chittagong Army raid was the Surya Sen. Kakori conspiracy Ram Prasad Bismillah. Lahore conspiracy was the Gaddar party Lala Hardayal, and Lahore conspiracy is Jatin Das. So see the question. Chittagong Armory raid was the Bengal under the leadership of Surya Sen and government armories in the 1913. Saharanpur to Lucknow train was looted at the Kakori under the leadership of Ram Prasad Bismillah, and Jatin Das was the first martyr who died 64 days of this fast and was then Lahore conspiracy case along with Bhagat Singh, Rajguru and Sukhdev. So Lahore was Bhagat Singh, Rajguru and Sukhdev, and Gaddar party was established Lala Hardayal and Sohan Singh Bankhna 1913 in San Francisco. And the Lucknow train was looted by the Kakori under the leadership of Ram Prasad Bismillah, and Chittagong Armory took place in the Bengal under the leadership of Surya Sen. MC Sitalwad, B.N. Rao and Aladi Krishna Swami Iyer was distinguished member of. They was the Servant India Society. So MC Sitalwad, B.N. Rao and Aladi Krishna Swami were the distinguished member of the Servant of India Society. So Servant of India Society was formed by Gopal Krishna Gokhale, and Maharashtra was left the Deccan Education Society to form the association. So Servant of India Society, Gopal Krishna Gokhale and Maharashtra who left the Deccan Education Society to form the association. What is the correct chronological sequence of following? It is first the Wood Dispatch, Macaulay Minutes on Education, and the Sargent Education Report on Indian Education. So it was the Macaulay Minutes in the education, then Wood Dispatch of Education, then Indian Education Hunter Commission, then the Sargent Education Report. So Macaulay Minutes on Education in the English language become the main instrument for education and was supported. Charles Wood dispatched primary school to adopt the high school adopt Anglo vernacular language and English on collect level. Hunter Commission to look into the complaints of non-implementation of Wood dispatch and the Sargent Plan of Education, Future Development of Education. Hunter Commission to look after into the complaints of non-implementation of Wood dispatch. Charter Wood dispatch was the primary school to adopt the vernacular language and Anglo vernacular language of English, and Macaulay Minutes for English language become main instrument for the education and was supported. So next is the Mopla is the Kerala, Pabna is the Bengal, Ikka movement is the Awadh, and Birsa Munda was in the Bengal actually, and Pabna was in Bihar and Ikka was in the Awadh. So let's see again. See, Ekka movement, this was also a movement of the peasants, and that was United Province, and Birsa was Munda was the Bihar and Jharkhand, and he raised the voice against the transformation of tribal agrarian system and feudal system, and it was in Bihar, Birsa Munda. And Ikka movement was Madaripalli 1921, and Pabna revolt was in Awadh, so revolt occurred Bengal and was arrested moderate peasants. Mopla was in Kerala, Malabar coast, and Musliyar and Variya. So Pabna revolt was the revolt occurred in the Bengal. So Pabna revolt was occurred in the Bengal, and Ikka movement, this movement also known as the movement, was in the peasant which occurred in the United Province of Madrimos. The educated middle class in India was remained neutral to the revolt of 1857. The rising middle class were newly English educationists remembered neutral during the revolt of 1857. So the educated middle class in India was reminded neutral to the revolt of 1857. Lord Mountbatten came to India as Viceroy with specific instruction to it was keep India united if possible. Mountbatten came to India as Viceroy with specific instruction. So keep India united if possible. So he came to with a special instruction to keep India possible united and overseeing the transition of British India independence. No later 13 June 1948. Okay. Now question number next. The Indian National Congress agreed to partition of country mainly because they wanted to avoid large-scale communal riots. So the period of 1940 were the considered crimes time for the Hindu-Muslim unity. Thereafter, Indian National Congress agreed to the partition of country because they wanted to avoid large-scale communal riots, which took the thousands of people, and the rise of communal riots add to state of confusion and communal disharmony was spreading very fast, and to check this Congress leaders were forced to agree the partition. At the time India independence, Mahatma Gandhi was not a member of Congress. So Mahatma Gandhi was not a member of Congress at the time of India's independence. So President of Indian National Congress was J.B. Kripalani, and Mahatma Gandhi was not a member of Congress. What are the correct sequence of following events? Tilak Home Rule League and Komagata Maru and Mahatma Gandhi arrival of India. It was first 3, then 1, then 2. 2, 3, 1. Okay, Kamagata Varu was the 1914, then Mahatma Gandhi arrival 1915. So Kamagata Varu was before, then Mahatma Gandhi arrival of India, then Tilak Home Rule. Simon Commission was because of they were no Indian member of the commission, so they boycotted the Simon Commission. The first venture of Gandhi in all India periods was a Roulette Satyagraha. Gandhi began his experiment with Satyagraha in Champaran, Bihar, Ahmedabad, Gujarat, and they were localized and region only. But the first and all India level movement launched by him was the Satyagraha against the Rowlatt Act. What are the leader of Gaddar party? So originated Gaddar party was the Pacific and Hindustan Association. The founding president of the party was Sohanlal Bakna and Lala Hardayal, and co-founder of this party headquarter was the Yugantar Ashram in San Francisco. The Congress is tottering to its fall, and one of the great ambition which is India is to assist in the peaceful demise of the Congress. It was Lord Curzon. Curzon wanted to peaceful demise of the Congress. Which of the following are the correctly matched? It is Theodore Beck, Albert Bill, and it was the Bill Ripon. Okay, 2 was the correct. And Firoz Shah Mehta, Indian National Congress, no. And Badruddin Tayebji or Muslim League, I think no. But Theodore Beck is Muhammad Anglo College of Aligarh. I don't know. 2 and 3 is, I think, right. So Theodore Beck is also right. 2 and 3 is right in front of your eyes, but 4 is wrong clearly. So answer will be 1, 2, 3. Okay. Theodore Beck is the first principal of Mohammedan Oriented College, Aligarh. So it was the Mohammed Oriental College of Aligarh, Theodore Beck. Lord Ripon Albert Bill was passed, and Firoz Shah Mehta, one of the founder of National Congress. Badruddin Tayebji, first Muslim president of Indian Congress. Muslim president of Indian Congress, not the Muslim League. Which of the following is extremist ideology during the early phase? Obtaining self-government by aggressive means in place of petitions and constitutional ways. So the extremist group of the early phase Indian freedom movement had believed in obtaining self-government by aggressive means in place of petitions and constitutional ways. What are the correct sequence of the following events? The August offer, INA trial, Quit India movement, Royal Indian Naval rating rewards. So its August offer was in 1940, Quit India movement 1942, INA was 1945, and Royal Indian Naval revolts was 1946. Which one of the following event was criticized by Montague as preventive murder? It was massacre of Jallianwala Bagh. The massacre of Jallianwala Bagh in Amritsar was severely criticized by Edwin Montague and called it's a preventive murder. So it's a preventive murder, massacre of Jallianwala Bagh. So the massacre of Jallianwala Bagh in Amritsar was severely criticized by Edwin Montague and called as preventive murder. The Indian Muslim in general were not attracted to the extremist movement because of that. Like Muslim in general not attracted to extremists because extremist policy of harping on Hindu past. So general the Indian Muslim were not attracted to the extremist movement because the religious policy of harping on the Hindu past, like celebrating Shivji Jayanti and Ganesh Utsav and Tilak and Holi dip in sacred river during the Swadeshi movement. So Simon Commission was the group of 7 British member parliament under the chairmanship of Sir John Simon, assisted by Clement Attlee. It's Attlee and Simon, okay, and its uh, objective was to report to the Indian constitutional progress for introducing constitutional reform as it had been promised before. Now next one, which of the following is the looked under the war between the Germany and Britain as a godsend? It was the Subhash Chandra Bose in the Germany. It's very clearly defined. Now at the time of when empire in the Europe were crumbling before the might of Napoleon, which one of the following Governor General kept British flag? So he was Cornwallis. No, he was Hastings actually. Lord Hastings through Anglo-Nepalese war, suppression of the Pindaris and end of the Maratha Confederacy kept the British flag flying and high in India when empire in Europe were crumbling before the power of Napoleon. So because of the Napoleon, the British power was crumbling in the Europe. At that time, Lord Hastings was the great leader, Governor General who take care of British. The Governor General who followed a spirited forward policy toward Afghan war. So Afghan war, what it was the Lytton, okay. spirited forward policy towards the Afghan War. So English force was defeated in first Anglo-Afghan War. It was the first Anglo-Afghan War where English defeated. Lord Ellenborough of Wu followed the forward policy toward Afghanistan to regular lost prestige of the English force. So Ellenborough was then Lord Lytton carried forward this policy. Ellenborough and Lytton. Okay, so Lytton is an Afghan. It made its proposal in May. It still wanted a united India. There was a federal union composed British province. So it was a cabinet mission. The cabinet mission proposal came to May 1946, which opposed the demand of Pakistan and supported united India composed of British province. The most short-lived of all Britain's constitutional experiment in India was Indian Council Act. So it was all Britain's constitutional experiment in India was Indian Council Act. So the Indian Council Act serves as a government structure. Famously, Lord Minto Marley reform was the most short-lived as a Montague Chelmsford, which was formed in response to increasing demand in India for home rule. Okay, so it was the experiment in India. Constitutional experiment was Indian Council Act 1909. Abhinav Bharat, a secret society of revolutionaries, V.D. Savarkar. So Abhinav Bharat Society, also known as Young Indian Society, was founded by Vinayak Damodar Savarkar and his brother Ganesh Damodar Savarkar. Vinayak Damodar Savarkar and Ganesh Damodar Savarkar was the Abhinav Society. Okay, there was no independent development of industries in India during British rule because of the absence of heavy industry. There was no independent development of industry in India because of absence of heavy industry. So absence of heavy industry during the British period was the negligence and high-handedness of British regime, and Indian independence, the prime focus attendance were given to develop, promote and support heavy industry. Next one is Shyamji Krishna Verma, India House. Madam Bikaji Kama, the Talwar. Annie Besant was Commonwealth. Aurobindo was Vande Mataram. So Madam Bikaji Kama, the Talwar, and Shyamji Krishna Verma, India House. Okay. Now the Congress policy for pray and petition ultimately came to the end under the guidance of Bal Gangadhar Tilak. So the partition of Bengal and Swadeshi movement marked the beginning of new era in history of India nationalism. Under the guidance of Bal Gangadhar Tilak, the policy and pray and petition came to be end. Next question. In the instance we could not play of the Madras against the Hindu, to which one of the following event did this remark as Atchison relate? Atchison is like a revolt of 1857. So to which one of the following event did the remark Atchison relate? The Hindu-Muslim unity in the revolt was indirectly acknowledged later. The Atchison as a official bitterly complained and said about statement. So it was the in the instant could not play off and Medans against the Hindu. So to which one of the following events? It's revolt of 1857. Lord Linlithgow and described the August movement as the most sincere rebellion since Sepoy Mutiny. There was massive upsurge of the peasantry in the certain area. There was massive upsurge of the peasantry in certain area. Peasantry in certain area. Yeah. Both are right actually. Linlithgow described the August movement and Sepoy Mutiny, but Quit India movement, which was started 8 August 1942, had unprecedented involvement of peasant community, which made the struggle more fierce. Lord Linlithgow described this movement as the serious rebellion in Sepoy Mutiny. The term empirical preferences was applied to it was preferences given to British political agent over the princes. Empirical preferences was applied to the preference of British political agent over Indian princes, and historically a commercial arrangement preferential rights were granted to one another by constitutional unit empire. The term preferences was applied to preferences given to British political agent over princes. Preferences given to British political agent over the princes. First Anglo-Burma War was 1824, First Anglo-Afghan War 1838, First Anglo-Maratha War 75, Second Anglo-Mysore War 1782-82. So First Anglo-Burmese War was 1824, First Anglo-Afghan War was 1838-42, First Anglo-Maratha War was 75, First Anglo-Mysore War was 1882-84, Burmese was 1824 and Afghan was 38 to 42. Now, which next is considered Indigo, Santhal, Deccan, and Mutiny Sepoy. So events, I think first was the Santhal rebellion. Okay, leadership of Sidhu and Kanu. It's 1857, and then Indigo revolts was again 1857 as well as Bengal and Deccan riot took place. And 1875 is some part of Pune and Satara district of Maharashtra. So answer will be the C. 2 will be the first Santhal rebellion, then Mutiny of the Sepoy. Okay, first is the Santhal, Mutiny of the Sepoy, then third Deccan riots, and last will be the Indigo riots. Third will be the Deccan riots, and last will be the Indigo riots. Okay, so second is Santhal rebellion, fourth is Mutiny of the Sepoy, third is the Deccan riots, and first is the Indigo revolts. Which one of the following Indian leaders was dismissed by British from the Indian civil service? He was the Surendranath Banerjee. He was dismissed by the British from the Indian civil service. So Surendranath Banerjee became the second Indian succeeded in the Indian civil service competitive examination 1869. 1874 he was dismissed for a minor apparently inadvertent procedural error. He had been discriminated because of non-Europeans and being an Indian. So Surendranath Banerjee. Which one of the following leader of the Congress was most in favor of cabinet mission plan? It was totally in favor of cabinet mission plan was Sardar Patel. So Patel of Congress was totally in favor of cabinet mission plans. Patel's favor the cabinet mission proposal according to which with setting up constituent assembly and in an interim government the Muslim League will no longer hold the power of veto and the Indian state will have to enter into treaties with the constituent assembly on interim government. The deterioration condition of Europe during the Second World War made many subjugated colonies, included India's sense of complete freedom. Subhash Chandra Bose was the eager to take advantage of hovering war clouds in the Europe. Next is the land allotted to the big feudal, land allotted to the revenue farmer, land allotted to the peasants, land and its Rayatwadi. Revenue settlement made a village level, it's a Mahalwadi, and land allotted to the revenue farmers of rent collector, and big feudal landlords, it's a Jagirdari, and revenue is for the Jamidari. Okay, so land allotted to the feudal lords are the Jagirdari, and lands allotted to the revenue farmer is the Jamidari. Land allotted to the peasant with the right to the mortgage transfer, gift sales, Yotwadi and Mahalwadi. Next is Chittagong Army. It's Kalpana Dutt. Abhinav Bharat is Vikram Damodar Savarkar. Anushilan Samiti was Arvindo Ghosh, and Kuka movement was Guru Ram Singh. So the Kalpana Dutt is related to the Chittagong Army raid under the leadership of Surya Sen. Abhinav Bharat was a revolutionary organization founded by Vinayak Damodar Savarkar. Arvindo Ghosh was related to the Anushilan Samiti, down revolutionary organization founded by the Sisir Kumar Ghosh, and Kuka movement was led by Guru Ram Singh. Okay. Next is after returning from the South Africa, Gandhi launched his first successful Satyagraha in it was Champaran. Gandhiji returned from South Africa and he launched the first successful Satyagraha in Champaran, the indigo planter at the insistence of Rajkumar Shukla. The native state of Tripura became involved in the freedom movement early in the 20th century it was a Bengal revolutionary took shelter in the Tripura. So the native state Tripura became involved in the freedom movement early century because of the presence of Bengali revolutionary who took shelter in the Tripura. Okay, Bengal revolutionary in Tripura. So, as the alternative to the partition of India, Gandhiji suggested to Mountbatten that invited Jinnah to form the government. So, Gandhiji suggested to Mountbatten that he should invite Jinnah to form the government as alternate to the partition of India, but this move was bitterly criticized by the Congress. The last major extension of British India territory took place during the time of it was the Dufferin. So the last major extension British India territory took place during the administration of Dufferin and the annexation of Upper Burma in the 1886. The last extension of British Indian territory took place in the time of Dufferin. The Indian National Army came into existence in Singapore. So the Indian National Army was an armed force formed by the Indian nationalists in the Southeast Asia during the World War II. The aim of the army was to secure Indian independence with Japanese assistance. Initially formed 1942, immediately after the fall of Singapore, under Mohan Singh, it was revived under the leadership of Subhash Chandra Bose. So it was revived under the leadership of Subhash Chandra Bose. So it was the form the Indian nationalist Southeast Asia. The aim of army was secure Indian independence with Japanese assistance. Initially formed the immediate after the fall of Singapore under the Mohan Singh, it was revived under the leadership of Subhash Chandra Bose. Next is who among the following in Indian ruler established embassy in foreign country? It's Tipu Sultan. With one of the following is not a feature of Government of India Act. So it is diarchy at the center as well as state. Note like that. Diarchy are introduced in center but not in the provincial, and diarchy was introduced in the province through the Indian Act 1919, and it was abolished by the Government of India Act 1935. While delivering the presidential address, the Congress president who advocated the introduction of Roman script for Hindu language was Subhash Chandra Bose. While delivering the presidential address 1935, the Subhash Chandra Bose advocated the introduction of Roman in the Hindi language. Who among the following streamlined the Maratha administration after Shambhaji? It was Balaji Vishwanath. So Balaji Vishwanath, who had the efficient both military and financial streamline, and the Maratha Shambhaji. So next one is consider the following statement about the National Congress. Sarojini Naidu was the first woman to be the president of Congress. It was the second woman, Sarojini Naidu. C.R. Das was Prison when functions the president of Congress. And the first Britishers to become the president of Congress was A.O. Hume, right? And Alfred Wave was the president of the Congress 1894. So Sarojini Naidu was the second, and the president of the first was Annie Besant, not the A.O. Hume. This is very conflict is there. First president was Annie Besant, and second was like A.O. Hume. Was founder of Congress. No, A.O. Hume was founder, he was not president. And Alfred Wave was the president of the Congress. Okay. And C.R. Das was in prison when functioned the president in the Congress. And Sarojini Naidu was the second. C.R. Das was the prison when the function of the president of the Congress. Okay. Now next is Balkan plan for the fragmentation of India was the brainchild of Lord Mountbatten. So Balkan plan for the brainchild of Lord Mountbatten. He was authorized by the British government to resolve the situation. Mountbatten soon concluded that transfer of power to one central representative constituency assembly for India would be impossible to achieve, as neither the Indian National Congress nor the Muslim League could agree, and that provided separate dominion for Pakistan. At the time of the partition of India, which one of the following provinces of British India came forward with the plan for the united and independent existence? That is Punjab. So during the time of partition of India, Punjab province came forward with a plan for the united and independent existence, but it was due to the efforts Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel that PEPSU came into existence, consisting East Punjab, Patiala and the hilly state. So which of the following provinces of British India came forward with the plan of united and independent existence? It was the Punjab. So Punjab province came forward and with the plan of united and independent existence, but it was due to the efforts of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel that PEPSU came into the existence, consistent and Eastern Punjab, Patiala hilly state. So the basic weakness of the early nationalist movement lay in its narrow social base. It sought for the narrow interest of the social group which joined it. The early nationalists fought for the Knights of Common People, also for the narrow interest of social group that joined, but at that time organization was weak and it could be crushed by the British at any point of time, so that followed by method of prayer and petition. So Lord Linlithgow described the August movement as the most serious revolt after the Sepoy Mutiny. Peasants joined the movement in large number in some place. Due to the involvement of peasants, the Quit India movement became one of the biggest and most widespread movement. This led Linlithgow to call this movement most serious revolt after Sepoy Mutiny. So after Sepoy Mutiny, Quit India movement was the large movement. Linlithgow calls it a most serious revolt. Next was with the reference of the period of extremist nationalist movement in India with its spirit of Swadeshi, which one of the following statement is not? Liaquat Hussain was the Muslim peasant Barisal scheme. National education was formulated Satish Chandra Mukherjee. Yes. Bengal National Congress was founded with the Aurobindo and the principle, and the Tagore was the cult of Atma Sakti, and main plank of which was social economic regeneration. So Liaquat Hussain led the Muslim peasant Barisal. It's wrong. Liaquat Hussain did not for Barisal movement, and Barisal movement was for salt breaking movement of civil disobedient movement. Who among the following was the president of the All India State People Conference? So he was the Jawaharlal Nehru. All India State People's Conference in 1939. All India State People's Conference was political organization. First session of organization held 1927 Bombay. Jawaharlal Nehru was the president of the body, and again at 1939 and remained 1949. A London branch of All India Muslim League was published 1908 under the presidency of Amir Ali. So a London branch of All India Muslim League was established 1908 under the presidency of Amir Ali to put essence of British government for the Muslim cause. Who among the following organized the famous Chittagong Army raid? It was the Surya Sen. Surya Sen, who was the chief Chittagong Republic Army, organized an armory raid Chittagong on 18 April. Next is who among the following leaders proposed to adopt complete independence as a goal of Congress Ahmedabad session? He was the Hasrat Mohani. So is Hasrat Mohani who proposed as adopt complete independence as the goal of Congress in the Ahmedabad session of 1920. So Hasrat Mohani. Okay. Consider the following statement. Arya Samaj founded 1835. Wrong. 1867. So one is wrong. Now Lal Lajpat Rai opposed the appeal of Arya Samaj. No, he was not opposed. So it was also not. And under Keshavdan Sen, Brahma Samaj campaigned the women education. Yes. And Vinoba Bhave founded Sarvodaya Samaj. Yes. So okay. Next is under the permanent settlement, the Jamidar are required to issue patta to the farmer. Were not issued by many of the Jamidar. The reason was there was no official check upon the Jamidar. So the reason of not issuing the pattas was there was no official check on the Jamidar in permanent settlement, and they were only required to 10/11 part of revenue collection of the officers. The Hunter Commission was appointed after the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. The British government appointed Hunter Commission for investigation of Jallianwala Bagh massacre, which occurred on this. Tipu Sultan established the embassy in the Egypt, France, Turkey. Tipu Sultan, known as the Tiger of Mysore, Tipu Sultan introduced a number of administrative innovation during his rule, including introduction of new coinage, new lunisolar calendar, etc. President of Indian National Congress in the time of partition of India was the J.B. Kripalani. So at the time of partition of India, the Congress president was J.B. Kripalani from December 1946 to 47. Which one of the following act of British India strengthened the victory authority over his executive council by substituting portfolio or department system for corporate functioning? It's the Indian Council Act 1861 is the during the Viceroy of the Canning strengthened the Viceroy authority over this council by substituting portfolio or departmental system corporate functioning. Next is Charter Act 1813 as the company trade monopoly ended, and 1858 the power of governor from the East India Company to British Crown. Pitt's India Act set up the board of control fully regulated by East India Company. And 1773, the company director asked to present the British government all corresponding document pertaining for the administration of the company. So it is ended the company trade except of tea and trade with the China. Regulating Act was asked company present a British government correspondings and documents pertaining administration of company, transferred the power to governor governed from East India Company. British Crown Pitt's India Act was set up board of control Britain to fully regulate the affairs of East India Company. Next is the real intention of the British to include the princely state in the federal union proposed by the India Act of 1935 was to use the princes to counterbalance the anti-imperialist doctrine of national leaders. So princely states remained loyal to the British until independence. The British included the princely state federal union proposed by the Indian Act 1935 to use the princes to counterbalance the anti-imperialist doctrine of the nationalist leader. So use the princes to counterbalance the anti-imperialist doctrine. Which one of the following submitted its 1875 a petition to the House of Commons demanding India direct representation in British Parliament? The Indian Association. So it was the Indian Association that submitted a petition to House Commons demanding direct representation of British Parliament. So Indian Association was House Common demanding India direct representation in British Parliament. With reference to Indian freedom struggle, which one of the following statement is not correct? So the All India Muslim League, which was formed 19 vehemently opposed the partition of Bengal. No, it's not. So the All India Muslim League formed in 1906 supported by the Bengal division because with the partition of Muslim will be majority, they demanded separate electorate in the leadership of Aga Khan. Next, who headed the interim cabinet formed in the year 1946? So it was the Jawaharlal Nehru who headed the interim Congress. The aim of education as stated Wood dispatch was the introduction of scientific research, rationalism and tradition. Yes. Create employment? No. Spread Western culture? No. Promotion of literacy and people English medium? That is also no. Wood dispatches for the scientific research and rationalism in the traditional Indian education. The member of Constituent Assembly which drafted the Constitution of India were elected by the Legislative Assembly of various provinces, nominated by the British Parliament, nominated by the Governor General, elected by the Indian. So they were elected by the Legislative Assembly of various provinces. Constituent Assembly which drafted the Constitution of India were, according to a cabinet mission proposal, member of the Constituent Assembly which drafted the Constitution of India were elected by the Legislative Assembly of various provinces and proportion of member of every 10 lakh of population. So they were from the Legislative Assembly and population of 10 lakh for every. So Constitutional Assembly of the last opportunity to avoid the partition of India lost with the rejection. It was the cabinet mission. So Muslim League got 78 seats in the interim government election based on cabinet plan, but Muslim League rejected the plan and thus the last effort to avoid partition was lost. So that was the last cabinet mission, not Crips, not Rajgopal, not Webel. The labor leaders were influenced by communist ideology and they look Congress as a party of bourgeois and their ideology of reactionary. So they did not participate in the Indian nationalist upsurge because labor leaders were influenced by the communist ideology. Okay, so they do not was there. Next question was the efforts of labor participation in Indian nationalist upsurge was early 1930 and the labor leaders considered the ideology of Indian National Congress as bourgeois and yeah. Next is during the freedom struggle, the Khudai Khidmatgar is the Pathan regional nationalist unity and struggle against colonialism. Next, with reference to the MacDonald is the Communal Award, Linlithgow August Offer, Dalhousie Doctrine of Plebes and Chelmsford Daherchi. Next question is the leaders of the Bardoli Satyagraha was, there was Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. The leaders of Bardoli Satyagraha was Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, who was conferred the title of Sardar by women of Bardoli. During the colonial period in India, who was the purpose of the Whitley Commission? To report the existing condition of the labor and to make recommendation. So during the colonial period of India, what was the purpose of Whitley Commission? To report existing condition of labor and to make recommendation. So Whitley Commission was appointed to report on existing condition of labor, industrial undertakings and plantation in India on the basis of and their capacity to work and give the recommendation to improve it. Maulana Muhammad bin Ali and Abul Kalam Azad resigned from the Legislative Council. The Lowland Act was passed by government despite of being opposed by All India member of Legislative Council. So not like that. It's Maulana Muhammad Ali Azad Abdul Kalam is resigned because during the Khilafat movement the Lowland Act was passed. Next one is Shah Alam spent the initial year of emperor far away from the capital. There was always a lurking danger of foreign invasion from the northwest frontier. So Shah Alam spent initial year of emperor by the way of from capital. There was always a lurking danger of foreign invasion from the northwest frontier. No. Shah Alam spent initial year emperor far away from the capital and no. So Shah Alam spent the initial year as the emperor far away from capital to fear of his wazir and not due to the danger of foreign invasion. With reference to the entry of European power into the India, which one of the following statement is not correct? The Portuguese captured Goa 1499. No, it's 1510. The English opened their first factory in Masulipatam. No, but Surat, but Masulipatam sometimes. East India Company, English company opened up 1633 Odisha. Under leadership of Dupleix, French occupied the power. Now, the reference of the to India freedom struggle, which of the following statement is not correct? The Congress session of Karachi opposed the Gandhi Irwin, no. And Subhash Chandra Bose formed forward bloc, yes. Bhagat Singh was one of the foundation Hindustan Republic Socialist Association, yes. Rowlatt Act was the wave of popular indigenization of Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Consider the following statement regarding the relationship between the India and Pakistan. During the Shimla Agreement, Indira Gandhi and Bhutto agreed to maintain the sanctity. Lahore Summit took place in year 1997. No. Islamabad Summit was held in Rajiv Gandhi and Nawaz Sharif. That is also no. During the Shimla Agreement, Indira Gandhi was Zulfikar Bhutto agreed to maintain the sanctity of LOC. Yes, Lahore Summit no, and Islamabad Summit was held Rajiv Gandhi. That is also no. Next is consider the following statement. Some of the main feature of Government of India Act is abolition of diarchy at the governor province, power of the governor to veto legislation action and the legislation as the power, abolition of principle of communal representation. See, third is not, but 1 and 2 is there. The first session of Indian National Congress was held Calcutta, and the second session was National Congress was held Presidency of Dadabhai Naoroji. So the interim cabinet formed 2nd September and per cabinet mission proposal headed by the Jawaharlal Nehru, and it was tasked assisting transition of Indian Pakistan from the British rule independence. Wait, their answer will be 128. We'll see in next chapter. Okay. When Congress leader commended the Montague Chelmsford report, many moderate left the party to form the because Indian Liberal Federation. Independence of Federation, Indian Freedom Party and Swadeshi. Montague Chelmsford report was announced 20 August and then moderate welcomed the extremists in the leadership of Tilak condemned it in Congress called a specialist meeting in which this report was called the hopeless and unsatisfactory. Due to this, moderate left Congress and forming the Indian Liberal Federalism, whose first president was Surendranath Banerjee. Indian Liberal Federation was made during the moderates and its first president was Surendranath Banerjee. Now, next question is with reference to colonial ruled India, what was sought by the Ilbert Bill? So to bring Indians and Europeans on the as per the far as the criminal jurisdiction of the courts and concerns. The main of Ilbert Bill introduced 1883 during the Viceroy Lord Ripon was to bring Indians European on per the far criminal jurisdiction and court concern. An important aspect of Crips Mission is the creation of Indian Union with Dominion status very soon after the Second World War. Okay. Now next one is, which one of the following provision was not made in the Charter Act of 1833? So an Indian was to be appointed as the law member in the Governor General of Council. An Indian was to be appointed as the law member in the Governor General of Council. The Charter Act did not provide that an Indian was to be appointed as no member. So it was the Governor of Bombay, Madras. Their legislation power of Governor General was given to exclude legislation power for the whole British India. An attainment of introduced system of open competitions, and however this provision was opposition from the court of director and hold the privileges of appointment company official, and the St. Helena was the vested or in the majesty. Consider the following viceroy in India. It was the Lord Curzon, then Lord Hardinge, then that was the Lord Chelmsford and Lord Irwin. So Lord Curzon, then second was Lord Hardinge, third was Lord Irwin, Lord Chelmsford, and last was the Lord Irwin. Irwin was last, and before this Chelmsford, and before that first was Curzon, and second was Hardinge. Okay, which of the following pairs is not concerned matched? It was the Vernacular Press Act Curzon, and that was not matched, but Pitt's India Act Hastings, Doctrine of Dalhousie, and Ilbert Zippen. Okay, now next is first Anglo-Maratha War was 67, and third Mysore War 90, and Anglo-Burmese War 24, and second Sikh War was 48. So 2 and 3 is right, but first Anglo-Maratha War was 1975. The name of famous person of India who returned the knighthood. It was Rabindranath Tagore. Rabindranath Tagore returned the knighthood to the government as a token of protest against the Jallianwala Bagh massacre in 1990. Now, the doctrine of lapse was the annexation policy perpetually decided by the Lord Dalhousie, was the general for the East India Company of the Indian British. The company took over the princely estate Satara, Sambalpur, Jhansi, Nagpur and Bhagat. During the Indian freedom struggle, who among the following proposed that Swaraj should be defined as complete independence free from all foreign control? It was the Maulana Hassan Mohani proposed that Swaraj should be the defined complete independence free from all form of control when he was presenting the session of All India Muslim League. Next one is the Montague Chelmsford report formed the basis of, it was the Government of India Act 1919. So Montague Chelmsford report, which was announced in August, formed the basis of Government of India Act. The Government of India Act was passed to expand the participation of India in the Government of India. This act embodied the reforms recommended Montague Chelmsford report. Which one of the following statement is correct? The Constitution Assembly of India was elected by the Provincial Assembly, and it was elected by the Provincial Assembly in 1946. It was correct. Jawaharlal Nehru, Jinnah, Vallabhbhai Patel, member of Constituent Assembly, no. First session of Constituent Assembly was held January, no. And the Constitution of India was adopted, no, it's November. The first session of Indian National Congress was held in Bombay, not in Calcutta. And second session of Indian National Congress was held at the Nauroji, and also the Lucknow Pact was concluded. So both Indian National Congress and Muslim League held their session at Lucknow and concluded Lucknow Pact. So yes, it's right. Lucknow Pact, Indian Congress and Muslim League were there. Correct chronological order is Curzon, then Hardinge, then Lord Chelmsford, then Irwin. Consider the following statement during the freedom struggle. Freedom struggle, there was a Minto Morley reforms, and then Montague Chelmsford reforms, then Chorachori outreach, and then Dondi March. Okay, Montague Chelmsford, then Morley Minto, then Chorachori, then Dondi March. Consider the following statement. It was in the Third Battle of Panipat. Ahmad Shah Abdali defeated Ibrahim Lodi. In the Third Battle of Panipat, Shah Abdali defeated Ibrahim Lodi. No, it's Maratha, not Ibrahim Lodi. Tipu Sultan was killed in Third Anglo. No, it's Fourth. Mir Jafar conferred the conspiracy with the English for the defeat of Nawab Sirajuddaulah. That's right. Mir Jafar was in conspiracy against the Nawab Sirajuddaulah in the Battle of Plassey. Who among the following proponent of the Fabian movement? It was the Annie Besant National Secular Society. So Annie Besant preached the thought and member of the Fabian Society. Annie Besant, prominent British socialist and philosophist, writer and poet, and support the Irish and Indian self-rule. She was a speaker of Fabian Society. George Bernard Shaw to know the Fabian Society. Kamagata Maru is the naval ship of voyage to Karnataka. So Baba Gurdeep Singh chartered Japanese ship called the Kamagata Maru. Gurdeep Singh chartered a Japanese ship called the Kamagata Maru early to carry large number of voyage to Canada, reaching the Vancouver, and the government did not allow the ship to anchor. The ship was attacked by the police at night. The attack was repressed by the passenger and it created a great stir among the Indian Canada. Where were the Gaddar revolutionary who became active during the outreach of the World War First base? It's North America. So Gaddar revolutionary headquarters San Francisco, North America. Consider the following statement. On the eve of launch of Quit India movement, Mahatma Gandhi asked the government servant to resign. No. Asked the soldier to leave their post. No. Asked the princess of princely state to accept the sovereignty of the own people. Yes. So Mahatma Gandhi did not ask government servant to resign, but to show their allegiance toward the Congress soldier. Not asked to leave their post, but to not fire on their companions. So it was the Quit India movement. And in which one of the following province was a Congress ministry not formed under the Act of 1935? It's Punjab. So Sir Sikandar Hayat Khan at the National Unionistic Party formed the government. Congress found absolute majority in the 5 provinces. At which Congress session was the working committee authorized to launch a program of civil disobedience? It was the Lahore. So Purna Swaraj was adopted session of Lahore under the leadership of the Nehru. Following headed group of Indian gathered the Tashkent set up the Communist Party of India. It was MC Chagla Commission. The group of Aman Roy along with the Avni Mukherjee. Okay, Avni Mukherjee. Okay, and Aman Roy. Sorry for Changla. Who among the following drafted the resolution of fundamental rights for Karachi session? He was the Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. So Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel presided the Congress session of 1931, but the Jawaharlal Nehru drafted the resolution on fundamental rights for the Karachi session. So Patel was the head and at that time presided the Karachi session, and Jawaharlal Nehru put forward the resolution of fundamental rights. Who among the following was not associated with the formation of UP Kisan Sabha? It was Jawaharlal Nehru, not associated with the formation of UP Kisan Sabha. So Indira Narayan Trivedi, yes. Gauri Shankar Mishra, yes. And Madan Mohan Malviya, yes. So UP Kisan Sabha was set up and Gauri Shankar Mishra and Indira Narayan Trivedi, Madan Mohan Malviya supported UP. Okay, Champaran was the Rajendra Prasad, Ahmedabad mail worker was Moraji Desai, and Kheda was Vallabhbhai Patel. Okay, Kheda Vallabhbhai Patel, Ahmedabad Moraji Desai, Champaran Rajendra Prasad. Which among the following that Kuwar Singh is prominent leader of revolt? He was from Bihar. So Babu Veer Kuwar Singh, of the leader of the Indian rebellion, belonged to the Jagdishpur, currently part of the Bhojpur district, Bihar. Which one of the following territory was not affected by revolt? It was the Chittor. So Chittor was the territory not affected by the revolt. Jhansi, Jagdishpur, Lucknow were the prominent hotbed of revolt of 1857. Consider the following statement. Lord Mountbatten was the viceroy when the Congress took place. Mountbatten was the viceroy Okay, Indian Navy revolts took place when the Indian sailor and the Royal Indian Navy, Bombay and Karachi rose against the government. That was right. Mountbatten was the viceroy. A conference took place. So Lord Wavell was the Governor General of India during the June and Shimla conference. During the Shimla conference, Wavell, not viceroy. Okay, and it was due to the efforts of Vallabhbhai Patel that he surrendered. And RIN revolt, Karachi was the main center, only Bombay where Hindustan along with the went to strike. In the first round table conference, demand separate electorate for the no, I think in the Pune first round table Congress, Ahmedabad demanded separate electorate. So first round table Congress presided Labour Party Ramsey MacDonald. It first round table Congress 89 members and 16 from the British political party. Congress did not participate in the first roundtable Congress. So Congress was not in the first, but third roundtable Congress was the December and attended the third roundtable Congress and boycotted third roundtable Congress. And Secretary of the State Pune Pact has no civil service and local bodies reservation. So in the Pune Act, special provision is representation of the depressed people in the body and civil service were made. The Indian National Congress did not take place in third roundtable Congress. Okay, the Pune Pact Act special provision for the representation of depressed people. It's not actually they were given. Who among the following repealed the Vernacular Press Act that was Ripon? So Notorious Press Act was repealed by the Ripon time of Lord Ripon. Which one of the following pairs is not correctly matched? It is the Gujarat become the state in 1960. State of Bilaspur, Himachal become a state. Yandabo is Assam. Treaty of Yandabo in Assam. And State Reorganization Act, Andhra Pradesh. So year Gujarat 1960. The Charter Act was abolished East India Company monopoly of the trade. No. Under the Government of India Act, the British Parliament abolished the East India Company altogether and undertook the responsibility of ruling India directly to yes. Which of the following is correct chronological order of battle fought in India in 18th century? It was the Battle of Ambur, then Plassey, then Vandivash, then Buxar. So it was the Ambur, then Plassey, then Vandivash 60, then Buxar 64. Supreme Court was established at the Calcutta by Regulating Act. The Indian Penal Code came into effect in the year of 1860. And Warren Hastings was the Governor General who established a regular police in India on British pattern. So one is not. So the Regulating Act was an act of Parliament, Great Britain, intended to override the management of East India Company. It provides for the establishment of the Supreme Court at Fort William, Calcutta, and British were to be sent legal system that was used there. Indian Penal Code is the main criminal code of Indian from 1860. So consider the following statement. Government of India Act 1935 provided for the provincial autonomy, the establishment of federal court, all India federation at the center. All are three, right? Which one of the following Subhash Chandra Bose after broke away from the Congress? So it was forward bloc. So all India forward bloc is the left wing nationalist political India. It's emerged as the faction with the Indian National Congress. Subhash Chandra Bose party established as an independent political party. After independent India, it has main stronghold of West Bengal. The foundation of forward bloc was introduced. So which one of the following correct statements? The moderate Kochi was the Dutch defeated the Portuguese and built Fort William in the modern Kochi. Which one of the following was the first constructed by the British in India? That was the Fort St. George. Fort William 1730, Fort William George 1644, David was in 1619, Fort Angelo was in Kerala, and Fort David was in Maharashtra, Angelo was in the Kerala, George was in the Chennai, it was first, and William was under the supervision of Charles Ayers 1700 and 1502 Angelo. Jawaharlal Nehru was in the fourth term of Prime Minister of India at the time of, and Jawaharlal Nehru represented Rai Bareli constituency, and the first non-Congress Prime Minister of assumed office 1977. So all of three are Jawaharlal Nehru became the Prime Minister followed by election and elected for the finally after winning 1962, and never represented Rai Bareli and elect represented and here is Prime Minister as a head of the Janata Party India. Okay. Who was the Governor General of India in Sepoy Mutiny? He was the Lord Canning. So Charles Jones Canning was the known as the Winscott Canning from was the English statement Governor General Sepoy Mutiny. Lahore session of the Indian National Congress was under the presidency of Jawaharlal Nehru, where resolution was adopted complete independence. So under the views like Jawaharlal Nehru Lahore Session Indian Congress held in the 1929 with reference to the revolt of the year 1857, which of the following was the betrayed friend captured and put to death by the British? It was Tatya Tope. So with the reference to the revolt of 1857, Tatya Tope was the betrayed by the friend Man Singh and he was captured and put to the death of British. So in the era of where was the English East India Company given permission to set up the factory of trading post? It's Surat. So it is a Surat. The East India Company was given permission to the setup of factory trading point in the James was instructed Thomas Roe to visit the Mughal Emperor Jahangir to arrange the commercial treaty. Would company exclusively right to decide and build factory Surat and other area. In return, company offered to provide a emperor with goods and from the European market. This mission highly successful in Jahangir sent a letter James Thomas Roe, and the company created trading post in Surat and factory was built. Which of the following revolt was made famous by Bankim Chatterjee in the novel Anandmat? It was the Sannyasi rebellion. Not Bill, not Zangpur, not Bishpur. So Anandmat Bengali novel was Bankim Chatterjee and published. It was set up the Sannyasi rebellion and the novel was Bain British. The Bain was lifted later by the government of India after independence. East India Company lost its monopoly over the India trade by the Charter Act and the company lost all its administrative power. Government of India Act and its Indian possession and armed force were taken over by the Crown and rule of country shifted from the directors of the company and Secretariat of the State for India advised by a council whose members were appointed by the Crown. So according to the Wavell plan, the number of Hindu and Muslim members in the Executive Council will be the equal. Would be the arrangement would be have avoided the partition of India. Okay, it's not right. So the plan proposed the Wavell Shimla conference held in 1946 is called the Wavell plan. Under the plan, India was to be granted dominant status near future. India would themselves draft the constitution. The Hindu and Muslim would be the equally represented beside the member of the depressed class and the position of the Secretary of the State and Viceroy would be the remain the same and the Viceroy would remain the power of the veto, but their proposal was not at the applied in the Indian state and the plan was rejected by the Muslim League. At which of the following place Mahatma Gandhi first started the Satyagraha? It was Champaran. Mahatma Gandhi started Satyagraha and Rajkumar Shukla invited Mahatma Gandhi Lucknow and mobilization of peasantry was done by the Rajkumar Shukla and other local leaders. Open inquiry was done in July and the Gandhi appointed 15 volunteers to start the village construction work. In the movement of Rajendra Prasad and N.K. Singh, the J.B. Kripalani also supported him. The Champaran, it leads to abolition of Tinkatia system where earlier the peasantry had to grow indigo by 20 part of the land. The ruler of which one of the following state was removed from power by the British on the pretext of misgovernance? It was Awadh. Lord Dalhousie annexed that the state like Satara, Nagpur, Jhansi and pretext of doctrine of lapse. But Nawab Wajid Ali Shah had children, so Dalhousie just annexed Awadh on the pretext of ill governance. Next is who among the following European were the last to come to free independence India leader? It was the French who came to the last, Dutch, then English, then French, then Portuguese. So Portuguese was in 1498, French 1964, English 1600 and Dutch was 1602 and Portuguese was 1498. Which of the following aroused a wave of popular indigenization of massacre by the British Jallianwala Bagh? It was the Rowlatt Act. So Jallianwala Bagh massacre took place 13 April and gathered the Jallianwala Bagh to protest against the arrest of Dr. Satyapol and Dr. Saifuddin Kichlu. Anti-Rowlatt agitation on the Baishakhi Day. Peaceful crowd consisting mostly the villager who had come upon without any warning and provocation of Dyer's troop in Jallianwala Bagh, a park enclosed from all sides. The frugality in Jallianwala Bagh stunned the entire nation and did not come immediately but little later. Mahatma Gandhi withdrawal the movement on 18, calling the Himalaya blunder. Since then, Gandhi became the extremely about the starting movement without adequate organization and ideological preparation, and the agony and anger of the nation throughout the famous letter announced the knighthood, and Gandhi returned to Kaisar-e-Hind medal from him and his work during the Boer War. Now, consider the following statement. Rowlatt Clive was the first Governor General of Bengal. William Bentinck was the first Governor General of India. It was right. Clive was the first Governor General of Bengal. It's not right. But Bentinck was the first Governor General of India. So, according to the Regulating Act, Warren Hastings was the first Governor General, and the provision of change through the Charter Act of according to which Lord William Bentinck was made the first Governor General of India, and this first statement is wrong. Who among the Viceroy of India when Rowlatt Act passed? It was the Lord Chelmsford. During the Viceroy of Lord Chelmsford Sedition Committee was appointed the governor with Justice Rowlatt, which made certain recommendation to curb the sedition activities, and Rowlatt Act unbridled power to the government to arrest, imprison suspect without trial. The act caused a wave of anger among all the sections. Even before the act was passed, popular agitation has begun against it. Gandhi decided to fight against this act and gave a call for Satyagraha in 6 April, and he arrested 8 April, and this led further intermission of the agitation in Dali, Ahmedabad and Punjab. Vinoba Bhave was organized Sarvodaya Samaj bring about the non-violent social transformation and reform with the willing cooperation landowners. Large landowners were persuaded gift at least 6 of their land, 1/6 of their land, and donation of land took place in the village called Pochampalli in the Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, but it was most successful mainly in Odisha. The first Factory Act of restriction the words over of women and children and authoring local government to make necessary rules was adopted during wartime Lord Ripon. During the Ripon, there was a phased progress in the Factory Act and which tried to improve the position of factory worker. The first Factory Act was passed 1881. This act provided the employment of children 7 year and age and the employment of children under 12 year of age for more than 9 hours, and other chief events of the periods were, and second Anglo-Afghan War, the Vernacular Press Act repeal and policy of free trade introduced, and the most important construction work of Lord Ripon was the enactment of a series of act which was made local self-government more effective. Albert Bid was the during the time the Hunter Commission report education was Lord Ripon, and Lord William Bentinck was the most liked among the British Viceroy. Which of the following suggested the Viceroy Executive Council? Which of the portfolio include that the member of held an Indian leader? It was the Shimla Conference. The plan suggested that reconstruction of the Viceroy Executive Council. Different commitments were due share in council and parity was represented Hindu and Muslim. To discuss this leadership of major in Indian party, a conference Shimla, but conference broke down and the Viceroy Executive Council demanded the All Muslim League should be the league and the executive of the Muslim members should have veto, and all India decisions such as demands were totally. During the Indian freedom struggle following is the Army and Free India League is the Subhash Chandra Bose. So during the Indian freedom struggle, the Free India established the Subhash Chandra Bose. In the Subhash Chandra Bose formed the Indian National Army and gave his famous call Chalo or Dili Chalo Raspberry Ghosh, who has been living in Japan, joined the Subhash Chandra Bose. Popular in Netaji was the born and Cuttack in Odisha of middle class. He passed the Indian Civil Service examination and he joined the Indian National Congress. and President of the Indian National Congress of Haripura session. Who among the following rejected the title knighthood and refused to accept the Congress Council of Secretary of the State? He was Gopal Krishna Gokhale. So Gopal Krishna Gokhale had establishment of Servant of India Society. He had also rejected knighthood and refused to accept the position of Secretary of State. He was an Indian nationalist. He presided over the 18 and Indian National Congress. He became a Bombay Legislative Council. He is the last served the member of the Indian Public Commission. Next is, who among the following Gandhian follower was the teacher of profession? He was J.B. Kripalani. Acharya Kripalani was Gandhian all his life. He has his education in Karachi. And Kripalani was professor of English history in Muzaffarpur College. Whereas the first session of Indian National Congress held its Bombay. So 1885 Indian National Congress has established AO Room. An ICS officer dominated the INC. The General Secretary INC met for the first time 28 December 1885 in the hall of Gokulnath Tejpal Sanskrit College, Bombay. Vyomesh Chandra Banerjee, as eminent Bengali lawyer, was elected as the first president. W.C. Banerjee. It was the 72 delegates. Objective INC were declared to be a development of close relation between the national worker, the dissolution of all race, creed and province, and consolidation national unity among them. According to the conclusion of vital Indian problem reached by the educated Indian after earnest of discussion and outlined the program of work for next year. The discussion in Third Naval Congress was eventually led to the passing of the Government of India Act. And the Government of India Act provided for the establishment of All India Federation and Union Province in India and a princely state. The Congress ministry in all province resigned and the Congress did not accept the decision Viceroy to declare war against Germany context of Second World War. Yes. Now, who among the following used the phrase un-British to, like Dadabhai Naoroji was the book poet and British rule, described the economic critics of British policy, alleging them on home charge. He was the first Indian to elected as a member of the House of Commons in the England and Liberal Party, like ticket of Liberal Party, and he was the elected president of INC. So Dadabhai Naoroji met poverty is his special subject and substituted the deliberate British policies, particularly to that of the drain of wealth through the artificially created among the grand old men of the India. Who among the following gave the systematic critics of the moderate and politics of the India National Congress in the series of articulate the entitlement new lamps of old? So it is the Aurobindo Ghosh. Aurobindo Ghosh gave the systematic critique of the modern politics of the Indian National Congress in the series of the entitlement new lamps of the old. Aurobindo Ghosh was the ardent of nationalists who later became a saint, was educated in England. His views were the readily accepted Lala Lajpat Rai Punjab and Bal Gangadhar Tilak Maharashtra and led to the formation within the ambit of Congress. On the extremist school, he propounded his idea through the journalists like the Vande Mataram and Kamagata who passed away in 1950. With which of the one following movement slogan "Do and Die"? This Quit India movement was the Congress was Bombay passed the resolution no the Quit India movement where the Gandhiji asked to the India soon possible gave call for his countrymen and Gandhi was arrested but other leaders continued to the struggle. Violence spread throughout the country. Uncommon officers were destroyed and damaged lines were be cut and communication was paralyzed and movement was however crushed. But Quit India movement was the new height for the participation of the national movement and sympathy with the cause. The great historian movement was that its place independence of immediate. So now next is which of the following began to the march. So it was a civil disobedience movement. So refusal of the British government accept the Congress plan plunged in the nation into the constitutional disobedience movement. The Island Congress Working Committee met the January implement the Congress resolution boycott. The movement was actually begun on Dandi March. Intention was the Sal Satyagraha in Dandi, Gujarat Sea coast and Gandhiji proposed the manufacturing of violating the law and Gandhiji along with 78 followers set out this 1930 by the picking of salt from the seashore by the handful of salt. Gandhiji inaugurated the civil disobedience movement, a movement that was to remain using the history of Indian national movement countryside mass participation, and the Salt Satyagraha was taken up by the Sri Rajgopalachari Malabar, a hero to the Vicom, and Kalapang broke the salt law, and it's arrested the 5th May before the could be government deport the Darasana. So next was the during the Indian freehold struggle, why Rowlatt Act housed popular indignation. It authorized the government to imprison people without trial. So during the period of Lord Chelmsford, a sedition committee was appointed by the government, and with the Justice Rowlatt, which was the certain recommendation to curb the sedition activity. The Rowlatt Act gave unbridled power to the government to arrest and imprison suspect without trial. The act caused a wave of anger among the section of the society, and even before the act was passed, popular agitation began against the Gandhiji decided to fight against the act, gave a call for Satyagraha, an arrest that led to the intensification of the agitation. Next, who of the following prime ministers sent Crips Mission to India? That is Winston Churchill. So Crips Mission to India. Who was the following Prime Minister sent to Crips Mission of the India? It's Winston Churchill. So Churchill, the Prime Minister of England, sent Crips Mission to India. Mr. Churchill announced on the March and that British cabinet was sending a mission to the India under the Stafford Cripps. The aim of the British policy was earliest possible realization of self-government of India. But the draft declaration he brought with him repeated the promise of the granting dominion status of the constitution making body after the war, whose member would be elected by the provincial assembly and nominated by the ruler in case of princely states. The proposal of Cripps rejected by all the political leaders, as so no party agreed to accept this proposal, so the Cripps mission ended in failure. Main feature of Government of India Act are as under provision for the establishment of All India Federation to be based on the union of province British India and the princely states, and princely state didn't give their consent for the union. Division of power into three lists: federal, provincial, concurrent and residual power. Provincial autonomy, introduction of responsible government provided the abolition of diarchy, and provincial legislation were made bicameral for the first time in the sixth province, an extension of principle of separate electorate to Sikh, European Indian, Christian and Anglo Indians, and discretionary power of the Governor General and the Governor, establishment of the federal courts in the Delhi with the Chief Justice and not more than 6 judges. During the freedom struggle, Aruna Asapali was a major woman organizer of the underground activity. She quit India movement. So during the freedom struggle, Aruna Asapali was the major woman organizer underground activity quit India movement. During the quit India movement, within 6 or 7 months, the repression was about the cessation of the mass struggle. But the member of Socialist Party was the Ram Manohar Lohia, Jayaprakash Narayan, Anna Asaf Ali started consolidation underground networks, and the role of underground movement was seen as one keeping up popular morale, providing line of command and guidance to activists across the country. So local organizations were active for the directing and expect pattern of activity and local level. Even Gandhian ashram revolutionary activity took active part in the underground movement. Next is consider the following scheme. This proposal include the provision for full independence of the India, creation of constitution making body. So Crips proposal include for provision for full independence for India. It's not but creation of constitutional making body. So the British government realized that the Indian problem cannot be ignored anymore. As a result of World War and situation worsened, the British with Japanese advance towards Indian leader, the British government with view getting cooperation from Indians sent to the mission and sent spread of Crips. Cripps announced that the aim of British policy was the earliest possible realization of self-government in India, but the draft declaration we brought with him repeated the promises of granting dominion stated and constitution making body war where the member would be elected by the provincial assembly and nominated by the rules in case of princely state. So negotiation between the Cripps and Congress leader were unsuccessful as no party agreed to accept this proposal. So Cripps mission ended the failure and the Cripps offer was posted check, but the Gandhi was rejected ultimately. Next one is in the individual Satyagraha, Vinoba Bhave was it was the Gandhiji limited as Satyagraha and individual basis. The carefully chosen the Satyagraha would be participation after informing the time place of the war, and Vinoba Bhave was the first Satyagrahi of the October and Jawaharlal Nehru second. And the individual Satyagrahi not only expressed the Indian people's strong political feeling but also gave the British the opportunity to accept the Indian demands peacefully, and more 2500 Satyagrahi had been convicted. In the context of the Indian freedom struggle, it well known for which of the following reason its a partition of Bengal took place. So the 13th December 1898 Lord Curzon took over the new viceroy and the partition of Bengal came into effect 16 October. So the Queen proclamation reducing the old province of Bengal in size of creating a new province East Bengal, which later on became East Pakistan and its present the Bangladesh. The government explained that it was done to stimulate the growth of underdeveloped eastern region of Bengal, but actually the main objection was the divide and rules. Most advanced region of country was time, and the Indian National Congress unanimously condemned the partition of Bengal. Who among the following was the Ahmedabad Textile Labour Association? It was Mahatma Gandhi. So Ahmedabad Textile Legislative Assembly was formed by the Mahatma Gandhi, and the Mahatma, or great soul held the father of nation, was born in the Porbandar, and he began his public career South Africa, where went to become a lawyer. So it fought the equality and justice for all. The South Africa spent number of years, and he returned to India. And Gandhiji set up Satyagraha ashram near Ahmedabad, and in the organized Satyagraha campaign itself, peasant working in the indigo plantation. And his first last India was when he striking with a mill worker, and he continued organizing Satyagraha and undergoing fast. After Quit India movement, Sri Rajagopalachari issued a pamphlet entitled The Way Out, and the following was the proposal of this pamphlet is the solution for the constitutional deadlock. So the Rajagopalachari evolved as a full approval of Gandhi for the Congress, and the League would endorse the demand for independent cooperation with the Congress in forming the government and transition period. So next, four resolutions were passed by the famous Calcutta session Indian National Congress. The question was either retention or that their resolution become the good Congress as the next Congress session held in the Surat. It was the annulment of the partition of Bengal. So there was a great deal of the public debate of among moderates and extremists at the years, and when they were working together against the partition of Bengal, the extremists wanted to Swadeshi and boycott movement from Bengal, and they also wanted to gradually boycott from foreign goods to every forum of Congress which was colonial government. The moderate wanted to confine the boycott of the movement to Bengal and were totally opposed to the extension of the government matter nearly at Calcutta Congress session, where the question of presidential split was avoided by the choosing Dadabhai Nauroji was the special all the nationalists as the great compromise resolution of the Swadeshi boycott and education self-governance demand were through as two sides were over different interpretation of the fourth resolution which ultimately split up Surat. So, what are the immediate reason for the Ahmad Shah Abdali to invade India and fight for Third Battle of Panipat? So, he wanted to avenge the expulsion of Maratha of his viceroy Timur Shah from the Lahore. So, immediate reason of Ahmad Shah Abdali to invade India fight the Third Battle of Panipat was the avenge of expulsion of Maratha of viceroy Timur Shah in Lahore. So the Raghunath Rao, Maratha leader of crossed into the Punjab and drove away the Timur, who was the Ahmad Shah Abdali, son of agent of a point of Punjab. The following months saw the Maratha authority extending to the attack. The Maratha appointed Adina Beg Khan, the government of Punjab, on his agreement. On Adina death, Sabaji Sindhia assumed charge as the governor of Punjab, and perhaps it was the Raghunath Rao mistake to advance into the Punjab without crushing Nabidu-Dola, and the Maratha conquest of Punjab from the Afghan was a direct challenge to Abdali, and later decided to accept it. What was the immediate Ahmad Shah Abdali? Okay, with reference to the Simons Commission recommendation, which one of the following statement is correct? It recommended is replace the Diarchy with responsible government in the province. So the Simon Commission was to inquire into working of the system of government to grow the education and the development representation and bring India the matters of connected therewith, and to report as to whether and to what extent it is desirable to establish the principle of responsible government. It favored the replacement of diarchy with the responsible government in the province. So it recommended the replacement of diarchy with the responsible government in province. Next question is, who among the following Governor General created a covenanted civil service India, which later came to be known as Indian Civil Service? It was the Cornwallis, Lord Cornwallis, who came to be the India Governor General and was determined the purity the administration, but there was a company servant would not give the honest efficient service. So next was the, consider the following: Dr. Rajendra Prasad persuaded Mahatma Gandhi to come to the Champaran to investigate the problem of the peasant. No, it's Rajkumar Shulk, and Acharya J.B. Kripalani was the one of the Mahatma Gandhi colleague in the Champaran. Yes. So the story of Champaran begins to the 19th century when the European planter had evolved a cultivation and agreement that forced them to cultivate indigo and their holdings known as the Tinkatia system. Towards the end of 19th century, German synthetic dye forced indigo out of the marks, and European planter Champaran were the keen to release the cultivator from the obligation of cultivation. Indigo tried to turn their necessity to their advantage by securing enhancement in the rent and other illegal dues as the price for the release. Resistance has surfaced. So as well as but exploitation of planter continue. Rajkumar Shukla, a Lokanman, decided to follow the Gandhi all over the country. Pursued him to come to the Champaran to investigate the problem. Gandhi and his colleague, who now included the Bridge Kishore Rajendra Prasad and other member of the Bihar intelligentsia, Mahadev Desai and the Narhari Parekh, two young men of Gujarat who had thrown a lot with Gandhi, J.B. Kripalani and the villagers, and from down dusk recorded a statement of peasants interrogating them, make sure that they were giving correct information. With of the Pondicherry, consider the following statement: the first European power to occupy the Pondicherry was Portuguese, and the second European power to occupy the Pondicherry was French, and the English never occupied. It's wrong. Third is wrong. So answer will be only one, because the first European powers Pondicherry was the Portuguese, and the power of India were the Portuguese who sailed round South Africa in the search of trade goods and east such paper, cloth and silk. They reached the coast of India and the Iceland. Further east they found the weapon territory, and lack of moral scruples gave them advantage over the local. They found they began to occupy the part of the Goa and India. Okay, the who among the following official Congress negotiation with Crips Mission? There was Pandit Nehru and Maulana Azad. So the Crips Mission was an attempt to March 1942 by the British government to secure India cooperation and the support the efforts World War II. The mission was headed by the Stafford Cripps, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, Maulana Azad were officially Congress negotiation with the Crips Mission. So Crips proposal contained within the provision which could divide India into 100 and India pieces. It was the reason Gandhi opposed the declaration urgent working committee to reject the post-dated check. So, British government to secure Indian cooperation and support their efforts World War II. The mission was headed to Sir Cripps, and Pandit Nehru and Maulana Azad were officially Congress negotiation with the Crips Mission. Nehru and Azad. Okay. Now for Karachi session of India National Congress presided over Sardar Patel. And who is the resolution fundamental right economics? It's Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. So Jawaharlal Nehru, Sardar Patel was the presided over the Karachi session in the National Congress. But the fundamental right and economic plan program were formulated by Jawaharlal Nehru and adopted in the session and admitted to Gandhi Irwin Pact, as Gandhi was allowed to attend the second roundtable congress in London. Mahatma Gandhi said that some of his deepened conviction were reflected in the book titled This Last, and the book transformed this time. It was the good invisible contained in the goods. Okay. Next by the John Ruskin. So John Ruskin was the plebiscite of all the inhabitants in the Muslim majority areas northwest and the northeast would decide whether or not they should form the separate state. It is the event of separation agreement would be made for the defense, communication and other essential matters, and three terms of binding only in case of transfer by England of full power and responsibility for the government of India. However, the constitutional deadlock continued. So next is by the regulation of district collector deprived of judicial power and made the collecting agent only. What are the reason for the regulation? So it is the Lord Cornwallis will alarm the extent of the concentration in the district collector and felt that absolute power are undesirable in the one person. So Cornwallis judicial reform took the final shape of the were embodied in the famous Cornwallis Code, and its reforms were be based on the principle of separation of power under the influence of 18th century philosophy. Cornwallis sought to the separate of the administrative from the administrative justice. So collector was the head of the revenue department and district, and also the enjoyed the extensive judicially and the power. I rightly believe that the concentration of power in the hands of the collector in the district and improvement of the country. So how could be the collector acting in the judge of the Adalat redress the wrong done by him, and collector cultivator could regard the collector as an important revenue cases that Cornwallis Code divested the collector of all the judicial and magistral power and with the duty of administration of revenue. A new officer called a district judge was created, and the district civil court, the district judge was the magistrate and police function. Consider the following statement. It was the Bombay Manifesto signed in 1966 openly opposed the preaching of the socialist idea, and it evoked the support from the large section of business community from the all across the India. It's wrong. And the Bombay Manifesto signs and contain an open incitement Nehru preaching socialist idea, which were the seemed prejudicial and private property and to peace and prosperity at the country. And although it did not evoke the support from any other section of the business community, it strengthened the hands of the moderate within the Congress like Bhulalal Desai and J.B. Pant, and pressured Nehru to tone down the socialist utterance. What are the immediate cause of launch of Swadeshi movement? So this partition of Bengal done by the Curzon. So the Swadeshi movement is genesis to the anti-partition movement, which was started to oppose the British decision partition Bengal. There was no questioning the fact of the Bengal with population 78 million and had indeed become the administratively unwidely. So equally there was no escapation the fact that the real motive for the participation of Bengal was a political Indian nationalist was gaining strength of partition against the weakened what was the perceived as the now center for the Indian nationalist of time. The attempt of the one of the Lord Curzon, the viceroy, was the Calcutta from the position of the center from which the Congress party manipulated Bengal, indeed wall of the India. So next was what are the reasons Mahatma Gandhi organized Satyagraha on behalf of peasants of Khera? The administration did not suspend the land revenue collection in spite of doubt. The administration proposed introduce permanent settlement in Gujarat. The Gujarat Mahatma Gandhi was the only spiritual head of the struggle. Gandhi was the Sardar Patel, and some told country so major revolt organized and all the caste community Kheda rallied around, and it was the Kheda signed the petitions calling tax for the what scraped the wake of famine. What is the purpose of which the Sir William Wedderburn and W. Kane had set up the Indian Parliamentary Committee? So it was to agitate for the Indian political reform in the House of Commons. So the purpose of Sir William Wedderburn and the W. C. Keynes was agitate for the Indian political reform in the House of Commons. With reference to the period of colonial rule in the India, Home Congress formed the important part of drain of wealth from the India. Which of the following funds constitute home charges? It is a fund used to the Indian Office of London, fund used to pay salary and pension of the British personnel engaged in India, funds used to waging war outside the India. So all wars waged in the defense of India was put under the home charge. In the fact the suppression of 1857 revolt itself was under the home charges. So salaries expenses regarding to Indian offence were the curse but put under the home charges to the India. So next, which one of the following observation is not true? Quit India movement, it did not attain the labor class in general. No, attain the labor class also. So the tendency of the increased litigation was visible after introduction of land settlement system. Lord Cornwallis. The reason of this normally trace in which of the following. So making the East India Company an overlord of jamidars. So it was the permanent settlement, former lands ownership jamidar, which could be the other if returned to the venue. So formulation of land title on over. Okay, next was with reference to the period of Indian freedom struggle, which one the following was the recommendation by the Nehru report. So complete independence of India, joint electorate for the reservation of seats for minorities, and provincial fundamental rights for the people of the Indian constitution. So Nehru report, there was dominion status, there was no Purna Swaraj. Okay, it's Lahore session, there was the resolution was passed by the Jawaharlal Nehru for the Purna Swaraj, and Motilal Nehru with the son of Jawaharlal Nehru, and it was the prepared by the committee. So it was allowed the reservation minority seats in province having the majority at least 10%. It also included the province right of the citizen of constitution. So John Ruskin was the thinker of the powerful source of the inspiration of Gandhi and magic spell. The Mahatma Gandhi, such as the teaching of Apil, the Mahatma Gandhi, instantly Gandhi, perhaps it's Gujarati, and Sarvodaya, the good of individual is contained the good of all. All have same right of aiming livelihood from there. This is life of labor and life worth. So next is with reference to the freedom struggle, Usha Mehta. So running secret Congress radio in Quit India movement. So Usha Mehta was the Gandhian freedom fighter India. She is the remembered for originating Congress in radio and called secret Congress radio and underground radio, and the radio broadcast recorded message from the Gandhian the leader. The Rowlatt Act at its imprisonment without trial and summary procedure for the trial. So sedition committee was the Justice Rowlatt. On the recommendation of Rowlatt Act was passed, gave unprecedented power to the government to arrest the imprison the suspect without trial, and the unpopulist legislature provided for stricter control of the press, arrest without warrant, indefinite detention without trial, and those constricted were required to deploy security. So the Lahore session of Indian National Congress is very important in history because the Congress passed the resolution demanding the complete independence, and the rift between the extremist moderates was resolved in the session. No, and the resolution was passed rejecting the two nation theory. It's not necessarily. So the annual session was the Lahore December under the presidency of Jawaharlal passed the resolution declaring Purna Swaraj, and it was the goal of the Indian national movement. So assessment of the land revenue was basis of the soil and quality, use of mobile cannons in warfare, cultivation of tobacco and red chili. So English introduced nothing like no crops, no warfare, cannons, no tobacco, no chili. Tobacco and chili was Portuguese, and use of mobile cannons were introduced for that. An assessment of revenue was in Mughals. Which of the following principal government of India has the 1920 introduction of diarchy in the executive and government of province? Okay. Introduction separate communal no, and devotion of legislative authority by the central province. Okay. So separate communal electorate was in so government of India known as the Montague Chelmsford diarchy is the execution government of the province and the legislative authority by the center to a province, and a separate communal electorate was introduced in the 1909. The Congress ministry resigned in the 7th province 1939 because none of the statement like Congress ministry 22 backup of Second World War Viceroy included India with the declaration of the war Germany without consulting any Indian leader of the provincial government. We also rejected many Congress offers for full cooperation against fascism if some concession were provided Indian independence. So consider the following statement. The most effective contribution made by Dadabhai Naoroji to the cause of Indian national movement was that he exposed the economic exploitation of India, and interpreted the ancient Indian texts and restored the self-confidence in India, stressed the need of eradication of all social evils and anything else. So all of three are right. Interpreted the ancient Indian texts and restored the texts, and economic exploration and eradication of all social evils. Okay, with reference to Rayatwadi settlement, consider the following. The rent was the paid directly by the peasants. The government gave patta and the lands were surveyed and assessed before being taxed. Okay. Ramsay MacDonald announced the communal award on the 17 August and intervening the seats for the depressed class, and similar to the separate electorate as provided to the Muslims. And Gandhi was deeply grieved by this, declared fast unto death on the next day to protest this award. He believed that the award aimed at divide India on communal basis. Fast on to date, Ramsay MacDonald announced the communal award. Okay, so which of the following party was established by the Dr. Ambedkar? It's a peasant and worker party of the no. In All India Scheduled Caste Federation, yes. Independent Labour Party, yes. Labour Party and Scheduled Caste is yes, but Peasant Party was not from Ambedkar. So Ambedkar was Labour Party, and election of the Constitutional Assembly for the All India Scheduled Caste Federation and National Convention on Scheduled Caste, Nagpur. It was the All India Political Party, which comprises the peasants and the Indian were founded the Tulsidas Jadhav and that. During the Indian freedom struggle, the National Social Conference was formed. What are the reasons for the formation? Indian National Congress does not want to include social reform in the deliberation of decided to form a separate body. So the first statement incorrect because of petition representative method adopted by moderates by political again. The second statement correct because the organization of Congress felt that Congress platform should be devoted political topics only, and so it was decided to inaugurate the National Social Conference as a separate movement. So the third statement incorrect because M.G. Ranade was assisted by the Raghunath Rao, and together they founded the National Social Conference and held in first session 1887. The Radcliffe Commission was the delimited boundary between India and Pakistan. The Radcliffe Commission was created as July limit the boundaries between the India and Pakistan, and before these nation were to be become independent, Britain the committee was appointed in the Mountbatten. It was the 4 member from the Muslim League and Radcliffe. The people of India agitated against the Simon Commission because there was no Indian member Simon Commission. So the Indian Statutory Commission, also known as the Simon Commission, was the study of constitutional reform and mainly the study of the Government of India Act. It was composed the 7 member British Parliament not have single independent representative. It was considered a grave offence of the Indian public and commission to decide the future of India as a member, and huge agitation were launched. So the demand for the Tebaga peasant, it was the reduction of the share of the landholders from the crop to the 1/3. So Tebaga movement was the Bengal provincial Kisan Sabha to implement the commission recommend which asked for the give 1/3 of their harvest to landowner of the Amhab, which was the paying the. So it responded the Burgunder Act of the share of cropper needs to be paid only harvest of the landlords. Ilbert Bill was the removal of disqualification imposed by the India magistrate with regard to the trial of the Europeans. So Ilbert Bill was the weapon to amend the extraditing law and the Indian judge to try British offence and criminal cases district level. It was the name Sir Ilbert who was the lower member of council, and the widespread opposition of the bill Europeans showed the racist feeling among them, and the English was contended that English judge could not be trusted to try case involving English females. Quit India movement was the Crips proposal. So Quit India movement launched the August 1942. It was the restore the Crips proposal, and the Crips mission came to be India and was headed by Sir Stafford Cripps. It had come to the negotiate the proposal of Shell government for the India return to the World War II, and the offer made by the mission was not accepted by the Congress, and the failure of the Quit India movement. Simon Commission report published and cabinet mission plan Wavell plan came to be under letter of this. So next is Annie Besant was responsible for starting the Home Rule, the founder of Theosophical Society, no, President of Indian National Congress, yes. Even though the animation research with the Theosophical Society was in a founder, it was the founder of Madame Blavatsky and Henry Olcott, and the statement 2 is incorrect and 3 is correct. Annie Besant became the first woman president of Indian National Congress, Calcutta session, and Annie Besant launched the Home Rule League in India on the line of Irish Home Rule League in the Tilak. Next is with reference to the Rolex Satyagraha, which of the following statement is correct? So Rolex Act based on the recommendation of Sedition Committee, and Rolex Satyagraha Gandhiji tried to utilize the Home Rule League and demonstration against the arrival of Simon Commission concept. No, it's not. So the Rowlatt Commission of Sedition Commission appointed 1988 British India government with the Justice Rowlatt, English judge, president. He proposed the committee was to evaluate the political terrorism and Bengal, Punjab, and the government passed the Rowlatt Act even though even single Indian member of the Central Council opposed it. This act authorized the government to imprison a person without trial and conviction of law. The act thus severely curtailed the civil liberty of Indians in the name of curbing the terrorist violence, and Gandhi called the nationalist protests of the February, but soon having seen the constitutional protests fall under the Satyagraha of rope, younger home rule movement was, so the catalyst to the new phase of movement was provided. In November, the British government appointed the statutory commission known as the Commission. So next one is what are the object of Queen Victoria Proclamation? To disclaim any intention of annex of Indian state, to place the Indian administration under the British Crown, to regulate East India Company trade with India, to regulate the East India Company trade with India. It's not, but to place the Indian administration under the British Crown, to disclaim any intention of annex of Indian state. The Queen Victoria Proclamation incorporated the transfer of government from the East India Company to disclaim any intention to annex Indian state. By proclamation, Queen Victoria intimated that she had assumed the direct control over the government of India. Next is the Gaddar was a revolutionary socialistic Indian with headquarters of San Francisco. 1928 session Indian National Congress is the significance in the history of freedom movement because the attainment of Purna Swaraj was adopted as the goal of the Congress. So it was Lahore session of the under the presidency Jawaharlal Nehru as the significance as Purna Swaraj and was the goal of the Indian National Congress. So Purna Swaraj is the committee head that Constitution of India formally adopted, and even though it was been 20 November. So the partition of Bengal met by the Lord Curzon in late until King George V abrogated Curzon Act as a royal darbar in Delhi. So partition of Bengal announced and by the Viceroy of Lord Curzon as a concealed attack on the Indian nationalism. Lord Curzon wanted to split Bengal into the opponent. In December, King George V visited India in the king coronation Delhi during the held. During the Darbar, it was decided to transfer the capital of Britain, India, from Calcutta to Delhi. Also, the announcement was made for the annulment of partition of Bengal and the hope that it would restore peace and spirit of nationalism. The first woman president of Indian National Congress was Sarojini. No. The first Muslim president of Indian was Badruddin Tayebji. Yes. So Annie Besant was the first woman president of Indian National Congress. She presided over the Calcutta session of Indian National Congress. Annie Besant was Irish origin and was one of the few non-Indian played a significant role in Indian freedom movement. Badruddin Tayebji was an Indian lawyer who served the third Indian and first Muslim president in the Indian National Congress. Who among the following organized a march Tanjore Coach A to break salt law? It was C. Rajgopalachari. This salt disobedience once way was cleared Gandhi ritual Dandi and salt law all over the country in Tamil Nadu, and Rajgopalachari marched from the Tiruchirappalli. It's Malabar Kalapang march Calicut Payanur Assam. Satyagrahi walked from the Silhat to make the salt. So with reference to Congress Socialist Party, it advocated the boycott of British goods and tax. No. It wanted to establish dictatorship of proletariat. No. It advocated separate electorate for minority, press class. No. So Congress Social Party was founded by radical and young congressmen who during the long term was imprisonment in the civil disobedient came to be into the Marxist. So Congress Social Party is led with a group of with Congress. It was formed the Acharya Narendra Dev and President of Jayaprakash Narayan General Assembly. So Congress Socialists belonged to the watershed of the middle class. They was influenced by the idea of Marx, Gandhi, social democracy of the way, and they practiced Marxist socialism, Congress nationalist, and the liberal democratic way. It adopted the principal development of the economic life of the country and planned state monopoly of the foreign trade and organized cooperation society. Who among the following economic critics Dadabhai Naoroji, Asidas and Subramaniam Iyer. National movement was built around the very sophisticated ideological disclosure, most of which the development of the first generation of nationalists, simultaneously called the moderate, who are the towering intellectual. Dadabhai Naoroji, Asidas and Ranade Gokhale and Subramaniam Iyer were the among the grounded Indian nationalists, firmly the foundation of the anti-imperialists by the fashion the word first economic critique of colony before the Hobson and Lenin. So drain theory was the core nationalist critics of colony acknowledge high priced of critics. Dadabhai Naoroji as the forward idea as the British was attaining the bleeding India. R.C. Das met the subject economic history of India. Subramaniam Iyer was known for the fire article and Subramaniam Iyer actively supported the cause of Indian freedom and used his newspaper The Hindu to protest British imperial hands. Satyashodak Samaj organized an anti-caste movement of Maharashtra. So Satyashodak Samaj established the Jyotirba Phule main objective of the group improve the social state of Shudra untouchable caste through the writing activities. Mahatma Phule always condemned caste hierarchy and began to with his attack Veda through the Satyashodak Samaj. Also preached that there is no requirement of such as the price prosecutor offer the prayer of the god. Montesquieu Chelmsford is the constitutional reform. Montesquieu Chelmsford proposed to intention of diarchy was in a province and provincial subject divided into two groups and one of the reserved and transferred. It proposed bicameral central act provided establishment of a public service commission. Calcutta Utilitarian Committee and Thebra New Departure Indian Reform Association. So Keshav Chandra Sen was Calcutta, no, but Tabernacle New Dispensation, yes, and International Reform was yes. Okay, which of the one of the following movement has contributed to the split of Indian National Congress, resulting in the emergence of moderate and extremist? It is Swadeshi movement. So the Surat split was known for the separate Congress and moderate and extremist is the Surat session of Congress, and this was the time of Swadeshi movement. With reference to the cabinet mission, which of the following statements it recommended the federal government? It enlarged the power of Indian courts. No, it provided more Indian to in the ICS. It's not only A. So cabinet mission arrived, and the objective of this mission to devise the machinery of draw up the constitutional independent India and make the arrangement of interim government. Thus the mission was like declaration of Indian independence. The mission was to discuss which of the leaders of various political party but could not arrive at any agreed solution. So finally it announced its own recommendation on May. The cabinet mission plan was proposed that there shall be a union of India which was to empower to deal with the defense, foreign affairs and communication. The cabinet mission recommended undivided India and turned Muslim League in demand for the separate Pakistani. The cabinet mission was communal representative. It provided that all the member of the committee there would be the interference, so it could be provided for the Constituent Assembly democratic principles and Indian right to seat Commonwealth. Thus, the Union government and the legislature were to have the power of dealing with the finance, foreign affairs, and the communication. And federal plan to maintain the national unity and maximum autonomy to the provinces of the British India, and while defense, external affair, communication, and Crips cabinet mission component of the recruitment of ICS and this. So, which of the following cabinet mission, which of the following statement is correct? It recommended a federal government. It enlarged the power of the Indian courts. No. Montague Chelmsford Government of India Act was the Edwin Montague, the Secretary of State, and Lord Chelmsford, the Viceroy of the state, the scheme of constitutional reform. This reform popularized not of Montague Chelmsford reform led to the enactment of Government of India Act. The Montague Chelmsford reforms become the Government of India Act clearly define the jurisdiction of central provincial government. The object of Butler Committee to improve the relationship between the government and the Indian state. The three-member committee was the Harcourt Butler native. So paramountcy of must remain supreme. State should not be handed over the Indian government to British India responsible, but it could be done with the consent of state. It must fulfill obligation adopting to the defining according to shifting necessities, time and progressive development. And Viceroy was Madrid's crown agent in the dealing with the state. Consider the following way. Radhakant Dev was the first president of the Indian National Association. So yes, and Surendranath Banerjee founder of the Gujlu Lakshmikant Chetty founder of Madras. No. So president of first committee of British India, so Raja Radhakant Dev, and Devendranath Tagore was the secretary, and the Society Hindu Patriot adopted the crucial motion editor of Harsh Chandra Mukherjee. The object of Butler, okay. Now, next is Swadeshi. The Swadeshi movement boycott were adopted, agitation against the partition of Bengal. So, Swadeshi movement boycott, the idea of the boycott started and fell off campaign. So, Rabindranath Tagore and Ramendra called the observation of Rajkumar Shulk and Aradan on the partition, and Raksha Bandhan and Arandan. So, Swadeshi means own country according to the pupil, and goods proposed within the war, and Lala Lajpat Rai, Bipin Chand Pal and Gangadhar Tilak. So what are the main reason of the split in the Indian National Congress in the Surat? So it was extremists lacked faith in the capacity of moderate to negotiate with the British government. So moderate believed to the British settlement minor issue with the government by the deliberation, but the extremists believed the agitation, strike and boycott to the force the demand. Some nationalists led the Lokmanya Tilak agitation against the moderate behavior of the Congress against the British rule. This led to the split of Congress, which is known as Surat split. So on the occasion of the anniversary festival of the Keshav Chandra Sen led to foundation stone of the mandir called the Tabernacle of New Depreciation. Keshav Chandra Sen was his follower marched to propose sport early in the morning, and Sankirtan and his was the Brahma street profession, and it was the first of its kind in Calcutta. Adi Samaj condemned the degradation of Brahma Samaj. So Indian Reform Association was the Keshav Chandra Sen and represented the secular side of Brahma Samaj and include the Indian Reform Association. So objective was into practice some of the ideas and export during the visit of Great Britain, and the Calcutta Agrarian Committee was established, the Ram Mohan Roy and Dwarka Das Tagore. With reference to the Indian freedom struggle, consider the following, and it was the second non-table Congress, then Quit India Movement, then Mutiny. So mutiny of the Royal Indian Navy blocked 1946 at the Bombay Talwar ship and Karachi Hindustan ship. Quit India movement launched in 1942, and second roundtable congress held in the London, each with the Mahatma Gandhi participated in the context of Indian history. The principle of diarchy referred to its division of the subject delegated to the province into the two categories. So diarchy also spelled the system of double government introduced to the Government of India Act and province British. So the principal diarchy was the division of the executive branch of each provincial government into the autonomous and the popularly responsible. So the first composed the executive and the appointed before the crown. So next one is consider the following act. Okay. So it was the Factory Act was passed the view to fix the wages of industrial worker and to allow the worker to form the union. No, and N.M. Lokhande was the pioneer organizing the labor movement in the British. So yes, the Trade Dispute Act provided for it was the system of tribunal and a ban on strike. So one of the most objectionable feature of the original text. So union may apply to register as the recognized union. On receipt such application for the registration, and registrar shall be forward copy of the application the employer or employee concerned. On receipt communication from such employer or the registrar shall proceed register union And bill was precise establishment of permanent incumbent arbitrator and industrial court, and making the interaction more and more, and settling the conciliation, and for the period of 3 to 5 months. So who among the following were associated with the introduction of Rayatwadi? So it was the Lord Cornwallis, no, Reed and Monroe. Okay, so the Rayatwadi was the device Alexander Reed and Monroe, 18th century. Lord Cornwallis associated with the Cornwallis Code and permanent settlement. So it was the finishing, and last page is not completed. Okay, so it was the finishing. It's almost 2 hours and 23 minutes long session.